Okay.
So I had to, be certified in, my firearm proficiency and advanced rifle handling before I could even do the trails guiding certification. This degree, Project Dragonfly has just been giving me so much fuel and so much motivation for so many different things. So many people that are like, what is an American girl going to teach me about my wildlife?
Yeah.
Or like, how is an American girl supposed to keep me safe? I think you expect me to...
Do lions have, do the females have longer eyelashes than the males? Or, because those are huge eyelashes and I love it on the male. But
yeah.
I'm wondering.
My prize.
Wow.
My favorite. That's unedited too. I've edited it since, and this is another one of my photography.
Oh wow, great one. That's in motion.
Yeah, so effective.
Yeah.
Birds and reptiles covering their heads.
Oh yeah, definitely. Speaking of reptiles, that video of the Mozambique spitting cobra that you took out of the bucket, that was nuts.
I was the
main snake person.
person.
Oh
so like if a rhino is casual, you'll see it kind of doing this, just kind of around. If a rhino's like this, it's focused on something. It's like this.
It's honing in. Okay.
Focused on there. It's like the wholesome OnlyFans.
Yeah, the wholesome OnlyFans, basically.
They're really like putting a lot into it to make sure that, there's a lot of genetic diversity and to try to expand the population as best they can. Where it's like, wow, you really need not only like veterinary knowledge, like you need knowledge of this particular species, animal behavior and family and social dynamics to make sure that you can speak its language to get it to do the things you want to do, like play.
Yeah. And that's where you come in, because that's what you want to do. Yeah.
Environmental justice and conservation and things like that have kind of just become part of this political agenda that like puts people in boxes. Aliens, that was like another one of your podcast. I was like, that's such an interesting point.
Yeah.
It's like, why should we care so much about elsewhere when we have things that are aliens to us on this planet?
Jeff Bezos couldn't keep him in if they didn't like him.
I mean, I'd like to think that there's something he could do, but...
Find you in a big rhino walking and you were like recording kind of selfie mode. Like, transport me into that moment. What was going on there? What was the time?
I would love to. That is...
Brazil Earth Expedition.
I know.
You're in Brooklyn?
Long Island.
Oh, Long Island. Okay, awesome. So I got some like questions prepared, but I like to keep the conversations more natural, where it's just like a conversation. Yeah. So like, what have you been up to like ever since we got back?
Ever since we got back, it was definitely tough. And every time I go, anytime I go into the bush, but particularly when I'm working with wildlife or working with conservation, and like that's my world.
Yeah.
Oops, I gotta click. Got it. That's my world. That's what I want to do with my life. So, but at the moment, of course, I'm building towards that.
Yeah. Same
so
here.
To come from that, to have these moments, and then you come back and it's my 9 to 5 and I'm, going indoors to do my job, even though I love my job. It's just, it's just not exactly what I want to do. So when I go from what I want to do so badly back to it, it's always tough, but it's also inspiration too. Like, took me a little time to kind of flip it and be like, no, I'm good. I'm headed in the right direction.
Yeah. I was checking out your Facebook page and I was like looking through the different photos and videos that you posted. It's insane. It seems like you've lived many lives already, even though you're still in your 20s. Like you've been to Africa. Wait, how long have your trips in Africa, how long were you there for?
The longest time I was there was like a year and a half, 2 years.
Oh man, that's a lot.
But I was back and forth, study for anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and then I'd come home and work for a couple of months, save up again to go back, and all of that, probably about 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, I gotcha. That's a long time, because I just recently I did a podcast with Michaela from our group, and she's been to Africa, but she's only been there for like 3 weeks or 3 or 2 weeks when she did her Zimbabwe thing. But that's why she was telling me that you actually like lived there. I didn't know that. Maybe I never like got to that point in conversation with you, but that's a very long time. That's like life changing,
Yeah, and it was totally by accident.
Mm-hmm.
I basically knew at the time I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian. That's what I was going to school for, and I finished my bachelor's like pre-veterinary,
Mm-hmm.
and it just nothing really spoke to me. I'd work farm animals, and I worked at a zoo, and that spoke to me most. It did.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I really liked being a vet assistant though,
Yeah.
because they got that one-on-one time with the animals. Um, but anyway, long story short, I was kind of exploring more of like the wildlife side.
Yeah.
So after my bachelor's, that's where I found the program to shadow a wildlife vet in South Africa. And that's what brought me there in the first place. And it was kind of funny because, I saved up. It was like probably the most expensive thing I ever saved up for, and like the biggest commitment all on my own.
Yeah.
I 3 months there, and I'm on my neighbor's Wi-Fi, so I'll just bring them chocolates later or something.
Yeah. Yeah, you could like scooch closer to the wall that where your neighbor's at.
I know they're upstairs though.
Oh,
I don't know,
gotcha. Yeah.
hang from the
That's
ceiling or
so
something.
that's cool. I just don't want like let's hope the Wi-Fi doesn't give out again. That would suck. But yeah, you were talking about you like being a vet assistant more.
Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, so when I
Hmm.
ended up in South Africa the first time, I was on a small private game reserve in South Africa, in the Eastern Cape, and I was shadowing a wildlife vet. And like I said, I saved up all this money, and it was like the biggest thing I did on my own. I booked 3 months, three
Oh,
months
okay.
there.
Yeah.
And I get there and I'm shadowing the vet. And I'm still at this point, I'm trying to figure out like what kind of veterinarian do I want to be? At this point, I was still like, my whole family was like, oh, the first doctor in the family, it was
Yeah.
such it was a lot.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm there for like 3 days,
Hmm.
and we're working on this pregnant zebra who had been attacked by a lion, and she was like attacked all along her
Oh
belly.
man.
So it's like quite intense. So he's telling us all about her story, and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And then he darts her and sedates her and knocks her out,
Hmm.
and then they start talking medicine and all this stuff, and like whoosh, all of the passion drains from me.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
like, it's crazy to say, but I just all of a sudden I just didn't I found myself not caring, and I'm like, why do I not love this? Like, this is scary.
Hmm.
And I just kind of reflected on it, and I was like, wow, well, day 3 here out of 90 days, and I've just realized I don't want to be a veterinarian.
Yeah. That's
You
good
know?
that you made the switch though. A lot of people just hunker down and try to power through something they don't like. That's
Yeah.
that's crazy though. I feel like we're very similar. Like I also, the moment we start getting into the nitty gritty, like the chemicals, molecular biology stuff, it's like this isn't the biology I like. I like being out there.
Like
Um,
memorizing medications and
yeah.
that kind of thing. Like, cool. That's just not really where my heart like wants to give all its energy to. And I
Hmm.
think that's what it came down to for me.
Yeah.
So I kind of only brought up this whole story because when you say that I've lived like multiple lives, my philosophy kind of changed from that point on. That was like, okay, where I end up is probably going to be something that I've never even heard of. So let me
Hmm.
start exploring.
Yeah.
So I just like put myself in environments that I was fascinated by, and then learned about all the different positions and different training courses that were offered for those positions.
Hmm.
And that kind of led me to one thing, which led me to another, to basically to here. I mean, it started with the wildlife veterinary that got me into safari guiding.
Yeah.
From there, got me into conservation. So I was exploring, all the different things that I found fascinating.
The safari guiding you did, which reserve was that at?
So I studied initially at Kuantu Private Game Reserve, that was
Hmm.
in the Eastern Cape, and then from there I studied at Bejan, which is
Hmm.
Zulu for Black Rhino, a Bejan Nature Training Academy,
Okay.
and that's in KwaZulu Natal. That's a
Where
different province,
of South Africa?
South Africa.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Eastern South Africa.
Yeah, so I was getting different certifications through the Field Guide Association of South Africa. That's like the Safari Guide Association. So, you know, you get one certification and you become eligible for these classes and so on and so forth. And, you know, you can level up within your certification when you do certain, you know, amount of hours. So that was kind of my thing. I started as a safari guide, just driving guide. And, you know, obviously, I mean, I love animals, great at spotting animals, that sort of thing. But I didn't know how to drive stick shift. And, you know, that's everything. And you're trying to like reverse up these crazy hills while you're getting chased by an elephant. And it was just
oh my gosh, yeah.
I had a hard time getting a job because my driving wasn't there, you know?
Yeah.
So I practiced, but in the meantime, I also wanted to build up my resume. So I tacked on other certifications. I got my bird guiding certification. I then got my, tracking certification. And then I got my trails guide certification. So that's walking safaris on foot. So that's huge on animal behavior because it's just you and the animals, you know, you have to use your interpretation of their behavior, plus things like, you know, the sun, the wind, you know, all sorts of stuff like that, natural barriers and things, knowing what the animal is capable of versus what you're capable of and so on. So that was more what I was into. So I got into the walking trails, walking safari guide. And that's where I got my first job in Mfuleni Park.
Yeah.
That's a big national park in South Africa.
Wait, you said Mfuleni?
Mfuleni, yeah.
That is the reserve that I'm reading about in the book Elephant Whisperer that Megan recommended to me. Yeah, that's so cool.
I read that book.
Yeah,
I read that book and I met that herd.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I'm on. Don't spoil it because I'm on page 130 something right now. But I'm loving that book.
That book to me is so incredibly special. Because I'm sure you can figure out by now, this is not a spoiler, but when you take something like an animal, like an elephant that can break down anything, true, like there's nothing that can really fence that animal in except maybe a cliff or, you know, maybe deep, rough water, that kind of thing. Other than that, you know, no fence, no trees, no walls. There's nothing like that. So to keep an animal in, you need to make it happy. You need to keep it happy and have it respect you and want to be there.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how much you invest in the fences. You have to make sure they're happy, not trying to get out, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So even like Jeff Bezos couldn't keep them in if they didn't like him, basically.
I mean, I'd like to think that there's something he could do, but
I don't think he can, because like those elephants in the book, they said they popped out the concrete foundations like corks out of the ground. They just leaned into it and leaned into it.
They'll knock down trees to like break down the fence and then, you know, climb over the tree or whatever they got to do. It's just, they're just too smart and too powerful. That's the thing.
And you always hear elephants are smart, but until you read a book like that, you don't really know the details of how they're smart or actually experience it. So like reading the book was crazy for me. Like I never knew elephants could like sense electric currents with their trunks. I didn't know they could like, you know, I didn't know they pushed out the male like the way they did because it's a like matriarchal society. And like the fact that they just the little things they do that boggles your mind. Like how would they know that type stuff? You know what I mean?
I could tell you so many stories and there was one moment in your interview with or your podcast rather with Megan where you meant something along the lines of like we're not smart enough to truly understand, like we as humans are not smart enough to truly understand how smart animals are.
Yeah.
And I think elephants are the perfect example of that because it's stuff like that, you know, animals communicating over crazy distances. Like let me tell you this one story.
Yeah, go for it.
I worked at this reserve for a little bit right after I graduated with my trails guiding. Trails guiding is walking safari. So they had a position open. They just needed a guide for a couple days. So I went over to this other reserve and I'm chatting and learning about this other reserve. It was really cool, actually. We can talk more about it another time. It was a community reserve. So it's this type of reserve that's kind of like joint run by different members of the community as opposed to like a public reserve or a private reserve. So it's kind of like an interesting different model. Brand new, just started, still kind of like working on, reforesting and kind of building the ecosystem back up.
Yeah.
So this all within by the time I got there, I think the reserve was only 5-10 years old. So they're still working on it. So anyway, prior they had a herd of elephants that was maybe 5 years prior. They had a herd of elephants, and they had them in the quarantine boma. So boma is just kind of like a fenced in area. And when you're introducing new animals, you put them within a fence within the reserve so that they can kind of get acclimated. But at the same time, you can also monitor them, make sure they're healthy, learn the individuals and see anything that they might need, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So they're in a fence within a reserve that is also fenced.
Yeah.
About 2 hours drive away. That's called Sumconda Game Reserve. About 2 hour drive away, crossing over 2 different highways, is another reserve called Pongola Game Reserve. I believe it was Pongola. I have to correct. I know it's in Pongola. I don't know if it's exactly Pongola Game Reserve.
Okay.
But anyway, so they one night, a male, a big bull elephant, breaks out of Pongola Game Reserve.
Oh man.
Crosses over the 2 highways, take that long trek for hours and hours and hours, breaks into Sumconda Game Reserve, goes to the quarantine boma, breaks into the quarantine boma, breaks out the entire herd of elephants, out of the quarantine boma, out of the reserve, takes them all the way back. I'm getting goosebumps myself just telling this story.
I am too.
All the way back. That long trek over 2 highways. I don't even know how this could even happen. But it happened. God. And that is the herd of elephants that is in that game reserve to this day.
Wow. Did it know those elephants? Did it know them? Oh, okay.
How did they communicate that? That to me says so much about their communication, just the way they think. What was the purpose? Why did he feel the need to bring this whole, it wasn't like he went there, mated with all the females. It wasn't like a clear, hormonally stimulated sort of situation.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to break down and understand. And I think that's just such a perfect example of us being too stupid to understand how smart they are.
We haven't poured enough research into wildlife, I don't think. We poured it into other stuff like weapons and bullshit, but I feel like we're ignoring a bunch of of nature that we should have poured education and time into these past 200 years. But we just focused on industrialization and spreading civilization.
Aliens. That was another one of your podcast. I loved. I was that's such an interesting point.
Yeah.
Why should we care so much about elsewhere when we have things that are aliens to us on this planet?
Oh yeah. I just recently, speaking on that, listened to Paul Rosalie's podcast appearance on Joe Rogan, because he went back and did a major podcast, and it was with Joe Rogan, and I was so excited. I was more excited for that than Oppenheimer, because
that was the guy that you were talking about. You were referencing in that video.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I referenced him. That video was a while back. I don't know, but in this newer one, he said he was explaining the when he's in the Amazon rainforest and a thunderstorm happens, you run because stuff starts falling, and when something falls in the canopy, it drags and tangles everything down with it. And if a big tree falls, like a lightning strikes a big tree, it seems like the world's ending if you're just a little man and walking on the forest floor. There's literal trees falling like toothpicks, and you better run, because he said that's more dangerous than anacondas, jaguars, everything combined. And Joe Rogan was like, that sounds way more interesting than Mars. I would much rather go to the Amazon than Mars. There's nothing on Mars. There's it's lifeless. There's not even one life form on there. So the Amazon is just infinitely more amazing than most other planets that we know of. Every planet that we know of. There's not even one cellular form of life on those planets. But it's unfortunate because
section.
Yeah, because most of the young generation, they just want to go on rockets and go to Mars and stuff, because they just don't know. They just don't know about stuff that's in the Amazon and Africa. Yeah, it's nuts. The difference in just amazingness of our planet versus most other planets.
I know, and it's so sad. I think it's honestly, I think it's like a PR issue almost. It's I think especially with how we're so politically divided by climate change and I don't want to say like climate change. I don't know why I put it in quotes,
Yeah.
climate change, but I mean more like how people look at like climate change like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Or like
Hmm.
environmental justice and conservation and things like that have kind of just become part of this political agenda that like puts people in boxes that, you start talking about the environment and all of a sudden
That
you're
you're part of
like,
that group, basically.
right,
Yeah.
you're part of that group, and a lot of people just tune it out because they've formulated their opinions on just like a couple different aspects of conservation, maybe like the global warming side on its own
Hmm.
of conservation that people are just like, I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
It's really like,
That's
but there's so
annoying.
much
Yeah.
more to it.
Yeah, because a lot of people find security and safety when they join a group of people. Like, oh, I'm part of
Right,
this group now, so I'm secure.
right.
That's why they're talking. They're not even talking because they know about the stuff they're talking about. But, there's people like Paul Rosalie, people like you and I, that are actually, we care about the things we're talking about. We're not just saying it to fit into this group for our identity, right? That's huge because a lot of people do it for that reason. I wanted to show you real quick kind of what I'm up to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please.
just real quick, just so so it's like right now, look at this backpack I just got. This is for carrying just videography stuff.
Oh,
It's
amazing.
so I told you about that opportunity I had to shoot a short film at a farm. So
Oh,
I'm kind
right,
of
right, right.
yeah, I'm kind of going all out with everything that I have. I didn't buy anything extra other than the backpack, which is crazy. I walked into Best Buy and this happened to be used. It was a sign from the universe. So like
Yeah,
I got
wow.
this cheap, and then
Nice.
this is what I've had for a long time. So I've had this little lens. It's I'm still new to like using legit cameras for
Yeah.
videography. I've been using my iPhone. This is a Z6 II, and I got
That's awesome.
two mics here. So my plan is to mic her up, the farm owner, just like clip this on her and just let her free for all explain whatever she wants to talk about because she has a lot of different animals. I'll be monitoring the audio with these, and we'll just see what happens because I've never done like a legit film before.
Yeah, oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of practice for me, all like smushed into one weekend because I'm gonna be sleeping one night up there. We'll see how it goes. If I really enjoy it, I'll get another night. But that should really let me get my feet in the water for recording outdoor documentary films. I also got
Absolutely.
this little DJI gimbal for my iPhone because I'm still gonna take some like panning shots with the iPhone 12 because it's just such a
Yeah,
good camera.
smart.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm in terms of bang for your buck. This is a really good setup for recording. Yeah, for recording. Everything's used. Literally everything's used here because
Wow.
I don't think you
Even
should
the
ever.
lens?
The lens is used. Yeah, I saved like a few hundred just because it was used. And
Wow.
I mean, the lens works the same, right? Like this stuff all
I'm afraid
works.
to get a used lens.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Because I trust in
Looks
an Amazon because
cute.
it's such a
But
big.
if you, right, right,
Yeah,
okay.
and you can
That keeps
return
it
it.
safe.
Yeah, and then this
Hmm.
thing I saved 1,000 because it's used on this, but
Wow.
it's a mirrorless camera. So like I said, I literally just know how to press record and press photo and zoom in and zoom out. And these past few weeks, I've just been learning about writing and, well, not so much this camera, but like writing and filmmaking to try and learn as much as I can before that weekend comes up, which is
How,
this
how,
weekend.
how are you, what resources are you using for the filmmaking?
Dude,
Like
like
learning.
literally, like I'll type in on YouTube Nikon Z62 and I'll click on a channel or a,
Oh,
yeah, so mainly YouTube. And then I bought the Nikon course, which is $30 for my specific camera, which is like a
oh,
44-minute video. Yeah, just trying to, like, the more like the little yeah, changing the settings and whatnot. But that's kind of what I'm up to, and like just I gotta I gotta finish my CT training, for Miami University. I gotta
me
finish
too.
that, and I gotta talk to Jill about IRB. That's kind of what I've been up to, and then I've been working. I
What's
work
IRB?
the IRB approval thing for our synthesis, yeah, or our
Oh,
IAP, yeah.
what's your IAP going to be?
It's literally gonna be a short film. So I want to make a short film about organic farming, sustainable animal farming, and then I want to create a short little survey at the end of the film. I'm gonna upload this on YouTube most likely, and then the questions of the survey, they'll be like, Are you now more inclined to purchase grass-fed beef? Are you now more likely, do you think you're going to purchase pasture-raised eggs even though of the price difference? Those types of questions. Like, after watching this film, how impacted are you? And so since I'm having that little survey, Samantha told me I need to apply for IRB approval, which I was trying to avoid, but I think I got to do it.
Right, right.
Hmm.
I guess we should tell your viewers the IAP is the Inquiry Action Project.
Yeah.
Research project we do that basically like we ask a question and then we put it into action, put our research into action for some reason.
Yeah.
Which I think is so cool because it's kind of like, it's reinforcing the whole idea of research and science for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And for our purposes, for a purpose in conservation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, now that you mention it, I might actually do a Kickstarter page as well, because that's action, right? It's like, after watching this short film, are you willing to fund a project that helps everything I just talked about? So, like, I want to purchase land. The dream situation is I purchase degraded land where the soil health is suffering, and I re-enliven it through natural methods. Because that's exactly what they did in Biggest Little Farm, which is like the pinnacle of like everything I want to create. The Biggest Little Farm documentary was they just changed up, like, I think it was 100 acres of land. They made it from like gray and dead to like lush and green with like incredible soil biodiversity and everything. And they didn't use any chemicals, no Roundup. They don't even shoot animals. Yeah, like when a coyote comes and takes a farm livestock or a chicken, the typical farmer will shoot that coyote, but they didn't even do that. And it got to the point where they got this troublesome coyote that killed like 90 chickens or like 200 chickens, and it was killing for sport at that point, because it wasn't the bodies were rotting, and then they had to kill that particular coyote. But you could see the lengths they went to try and not kill it.
Right.
That's like the right like mentality of farming that I want to talk
it's
about.
At least a step in the right direction.
Yeah, because like some of the farmers are too trigger happy. I think it's just like, it's not always a solution to shoot a red-tailed hawk because it took one of your turkeys or whatever, because the next red-tailed hawk is not even going to know that the first one got shot. That doesn't solve the problem.
Right.
But most farmers, they have that mentality. Speaking of the IAP, this is a good segue into, I was going to ask you about your synthesis paper and then your IAP, but you can start whichever one you want to start with first. That your synthesis paper, what is it about? Or your IAP, what is it about? To share with
I'll
viewers.
start with my synthesis paper because I'm less excited about it, I guess. But it was very cool and I learned a lot. So for my synthesis paper, I was in the community-based conservation group. So my topic was, what was it? It was, connecting education in conservation to socioeconomic development. So it was basically tackling the idea behind tackling two crises, which is, the poverty and the lack of educational resources in impoverished areas, which tend to surround conservation hotspots. And crisis two is, of course, like deforestation and just habitat loss and, just conservation in general.
Yeah.
So to combine the two, to bring in an area, where you can create jobs and, teach people and learn from people and, kind of collaborate in that way to help sort of, make sure that people are able to put food on the table, but at the same time, save the planet.
Yeah.
Kind of like found a way to combine the two, which is a lot. Like we learned so much about that when we were in Brazil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By the way, I love your necklace. Like, you wore that throughout the expedition, right?
Yeah, that's my everyday.
I would love a necklace like that, except I don't feel I've earned it yet, so I haven't been there yet. But right now I have the Rio de Janeiro necklace that I got from a street vendor. It's just
that's awesome.
It's not a real tooth. It's made out of stone.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, because then we'd be hypocrites if this was. I'd be a hypocrite if it was a real tooth. Yeah, but.
Coyote tooth.
I know, right? That would suck if this was a jaguar tooth. Oh my gosh, I love jaguars. And then this right here as well from
Oh, that's right.
Where did I buy this from? Oh yeah, the local shop with the,
Thrift shop.
yeah, they're selling mainly clothes there. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, so I'm still kind of decked out with South America stuff, but that was a life changing trip for me. It was such an
Same.
incredible place. So okay, that's your synthesis paper. So what's your IAP about?
My IAP, much more geared toward my like career goals. I'm
Hmm.
focusing on enrichment strategies for orphaned rhinos.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm doing this is because I spent some time working at a rhino orphanage in South Africa, and I really stayed close with them, and I've reached out, and then they've reached out kind of with questions and sort of different ways that I can help, particularly like with my degree,
Hmm.
in terms of enrichment strategies.
Hmm.
So a couple of years ago, I kind of put together what I could put together, but I'm not at the level that I am now, or at least, have access to the resources that I have now.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my idea. I've, reached back out to them again to be like, hey, I have this opportunity to, really formally research enrichment strategies that could potentially, like work as a template for you guys, because they have their staff, but they also have a lot of volunteers. So if
Hmm.
it could be something that the staff could, because if they're every day with the rhinos, I want to make it, I don't want to make it like a manual, do this, do this, do this.
Yeah.
I want to really make it so, like, you really know these animals, you really understand these animals, here's the goals we're trying to execute. You can use your own information to work it out in that way, or you can follow these specific templates. You can follow like these specific enrichment strategies for somebody like a volunteer
Okay.
that has no idea. So to kind of make it accessible for everybody, and at the same time combining knowledge that people already have and applying that in a practical way.
Oh, nice.
That's
So
the mission.
this is for that particular rhino reserve that you worked at.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So that would really help with like transitioning baby rhinos and getting them going like with behavior issues or whatever that may help the workers work with them basically, right?
Right. Just to
Hmm.
help them, because a lot of times when they're sick, and you're like, just to start to have a sanctuary where you're taking in animals for whatever particular reason, in the hopes of like reintroducing them and rewilding them.
Hmm.
It's it's a very delicate dance and especially if they're infants, then you're teaching an animal how to be that animal
Yeah.
without making them too comfortable with humans. So it
Okay.
really is a very, very delicate dance.
Okay.
And trying to do that if an animal is sick for any reason is so difficult, because animals won't get better. They won't, even us as humans, like we won't heal if we have some sort of ailment. We won't heal if we are unhappy and uncomfortable and
Yeah.
depressed. All those things, they're not conducive to a healthy immune system, productive immune system. So to combine the two hand in hand, because a lot of the orphans we would see there, they would lose their mothers, they'd be off their milk, or maybe just because, as an endangered species, they if their mother couldn't make milk, then they would be taken and brought into the sanctuary. That was the
Hmm.
situation with a particular rhino that I was helping to raise. So
Okay.
in his case, he had never had his own mother's milk because she was never able to produce milk. So
Okay.
he was starving, and his whole like gut bacterial colony was completely off, like not proper, not appropriate at all.
Mm.
And then he's getting like horse formula, because it's kind of the closest thing too.
Uh-huh.
So all the while trying to get an animal, and when your stomach feels bad, we kind of know like our stomach is like linked to our emotions, and
Yeah.
even just moving and being active, that helps your stomach if you're having like GI issues in general.
Yeah.
So if you're depressed and you don't want to move, you don't feel good, so you don't want to move, but you really need to move to make yourself feel good mentally, but also physically,
Yeah.
and to grow and develop and metabolize, with so many different sides, where it's like, wow, you really need not only like veterinary knowledge, like you need knowledge of this particular species animal behavior and family and social dynamics to make sure that you can speak its language to get it to do the things you want to do, like play.
And that's where you come in, because that's what you want to do. Yeah.
Right.
And are you saying it's a delicate dance because when they're in that position, when they're with the stomach ache and stuff, it's hard for them not to feel attached to the human caregivers?
Well, right, of course, especially if it's an animal like that who its only predator is a human, a poacher. To develop a comfort with humans, it's almost counterproductive. Like, it's kind of like, what are we even wasting all our time for if this thing is going to sit here for any human and let him come right up to him?
Because is your guys' eventual goal to release them back into the wild, or just the reserve, or?
No, it's like it's a really extensive project. So and that's a really cool thing. Like in I can only really speak for South Africa because that's really like what I've seen, you know. Like a lot of different reserves are working together in different project. I believe it's called the Rhino Relocation Project. Yeah. Again, I'll have to make sure confirm that that's the right project. But what they're doing is they're a whole team of scientists that are collecting all the different genetic information of all different rhinos, and then they work to pair them and relocate them. And they might take like a male and a female from two different parks and put them in another park that has no rhinos just yet. So they're really like putting a lot into it to make sure that there's a lot of genetic diversity and to try to expand the population as best they can.
That sounds so cool. That sounds like a mass scale project, and it reminds me. Yeah, it reminds me of the American Prairie Reserve that's going on in Montana right now, which is basically similar to what the rhinos going on with the rhinos, but this is with bison in Montana, central Montana, and they're trying to connect land to they're just piecing together land like puzzle pieces to create a reserve the size of Connecticut. So it's going to be 3.2 million acres is their goal. But they're running into issues because like the last few puzzle pieces are owned by ranchers, and they're trying to like kind of influence them to give up their land, sell their land to them for nature, for the environment. But a lot of people, they want to have their kids inherit the ranch and like live that ranch lifestyle. But it's a mass scale project just like that one. Basically, it's cool because we're recreating mega ecosystems with these type of projects.
That's so the idea, and that's why learning all about the AMLD was so fascinating, because some of those landowners, that's like, hey, this land is really, really precious. We can kind of like negotiate in a way that it's like still yours. But, it is a protected area. So obviously there's going to be certain guidelines like that, those sort of compromises, and also the financial benefit if you're, now a patron to their farm, that kind of thing. Like that, there's a lot of different angles. We're learning so much like that. There really is so much beyond, hey, can I buy that? I need that for my reserve. Yeah. Like so much more than that.
It's really cool. It's really similar to AMLD. AMLD, American Prairie Reserve, the rhinos in Africa, it's all just like connecting natural areas to make one big natural area, because like the life can't function naturally unless the area is vast and huge. But it's cool because in the American Prairie Reserve, they give money to ranchers that don't shoot the predators that come through. So how they monitor that is they put trail cameras on their property, and then they check the footage periodically. And so it's literally like if a wolf walks past, $500. If two wolves walk past, $1,000 straight to the rancher. So like it's proof that their wolves are there. And mountain lions and I think mountain lions, coyotes, they're all less than 500. Wolves and grizzly bears are the highest amount paid, because they're really trying to get the wolves and grizzly bears to migrate into the American Prairie Reserve, because they're going to be the top predators there. That's so cool. Like I wouldn't have thought of that system with the trail camera system. It's just they're tallying animals and just giving them the max amount is $6,000 per year for a rancher. But yeah, that's awesome.
I know. I like it. I like things like that. That it's kind of like, unfortunately, at the end of the day, the biggest thing that speaks to most people is money. So if you can find a way to incentivize conservation with some sort of like financial compensation is,
Yeah.
I'm down with that. That's awesome.
They should be talking in the headline news more about stuff like this because you know how news is notorious for only highlighting negative things going on in the world.
Yeah.
Like that's like a really cool project that I would have wanted something like that, and now that it's already here, that's pretty cool. I just it's hard to even know about this stuff. I barely found out about it. I found out about it this morning because a CNN 60-minute video popped up on my YouTube recommended, and it was about the current status of the American Prairie Reserve. So yeah, they gotta put that in the head in the front forefront of their news. But
I know. That's why stuff like, your video channel and my blog and even just these conversations are so important because, unfortunately, it's not going to be mass media that gets these messages out when really these kinds of messages are honestly the most important messages in the whole world because
oh yeah,
if we don't listen and act upon them, we have no world. So what does anything else even matter?
it's literally the most important thing. Managing the ecosystems. Real quick, there's this video I saw on your Facebook page. You were walking with like a rifle, and there's a lake, a little pond behind you, and a big rhino walking, and you were like recording kind of selfie mode. Like, transport me into that moment. What was going on there? What was the time?
I would love to. That is the rhino that changed my life.
Okay.
We call it the old man.
That's old. That's you told me about him. Okay.
I've told you about the old man. He's everything that a rhino should ever hope to be.
Mm-hmm.
Calm, respectful, kind, powerful, intelligent, and really, like I say, very respectful. And I think respect is probably if I could choose one most important thing that at least I've come to learn and. In the natural world, respect is everything. So, He was well respected. He shared his land with all different, whatever. And had the most prime real estate, this beautiful spot at the top of the tallest hill with that big, beautiful, that little area you saw, that's a mud wallow. So when it rains, it, fills up a little bit more.
Okay.
But when we would walk, he showed us so much kindness. Like he showed us and kindness by relaxing around us.
Mm-hmm.
We would announce our presence. We had a little bit of a unique style in encountering animals that unless we really didn't know the animal, really depending on the situation, we might just like try to hide. And because that's what you learn at school. You learn that an appropriate encounter with an animal is one where you are there without them knowing and you leave without them knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I've been a part of a different philosophy that's also really beautiful. And that is where you announce your presence to the animal and your intentions are expressed by your tone of voice and your behavior. Mm-hmm. It's a way of sort of communicating with the animal instead of just kind of like sneaking and watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, with the old man, we had a really beautiful relationship with him where he was very, very comfortable with us. And, he was like that just with all different species, not just humans. Mm-hmm. He was just like that. It was just like, I know you're there and, I'm going to trust that based on the way you are interacting with me, that I'll allow you to be in my space.
Yeah.
To spend so much beautiful time with him. Yeah. And in that moment, so I'm walking with the rifle because in South Africa, you can't encounter animals like the Big Five. You can't encounter animals on foot without a rifle.
Okay.
So I had to, be certified in, my firearm proficiency and advanced rifle handling before I could even do the trails guiding certification.
Wait, what is that called again? The firearm certification?
Advanced rifle handling.
Advanced rifle handling. Okay. Is that like a Africa thing or is that in America? Okay.
No, let's say South Africa specifically because their law, like you can go to other countries, like I believe in Botswana, you don't need, you can walk with Big Five, walk with dangerous game.
Oh, okay.
With a rifle. So a lot of them, you just use like air horns or stuff like that, which I think is really cool. I mean, Ideally for me, I never had to use my rifle. Because the rifles, it's going to be super controversial, but the rifles are to keep us humans safe. If we are charged or attacked by an animal, we're trained to, in the most humane and ethic way, shoot and kill that animal.
Yeah. because
That's
some
why we have to be proficient, because if you're going to be in that situation, you can't have an animal suffering. It has to be clean and quick.
oh, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, and I recently learned like bear spray is not always gonna save your life because of some story I heard. Like this guy full on sprayed a grizzly bear charging like direct hit, and he got messed up pretty bad. I was about to drop the f bomb here. I don't know if
Yeah.
I should do that yet on this young podcast, but yeah, he was about to get fricked up by this grizzly bear, and I mean, he actually, yeah, he did because he sprayed him and he thought he got him and he did get him, but all he had with him was bear spray, no gun, no firearm, and he almost died from his injuries, which is like I always thought like bear spray is all I need, but now I know like sometimes you need the ender of like the animal's life, which is a powerful firearm. Um,
And
so
also, it's one of those things too that I think, because people think that it's foolproof, they push their luck more. They think that they're completely safe, and that's the same thing that's another thing that they sort of teach us too with walking is that you should not walk any different amongst these
yeah,
animals, whether you have a rifle versus whether you don't.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
mm-hmm,
there's so many other different strategies of how to like break an animal's charge or something like that
yeah,
without having to shoot it. And all those things that you can just use. You can use a hat, you can use a backpack, you can use your voice, you can
mm-hmm.
use a stick. There's so many things. You can climb a tree, like you can have your natural barriers and be aware. You can use the sun even, there's
Wow,
so many
really?
things that you can use.
Like your positioning with the sun?
You can
Wow.
you If you position your encounter properly and the sun is at your back, an animal will be blind to you.
Oh, okay. Because you're just like a dark figure silhouette, or they don't even see you. Okay.
Right? Or they're just blinded.
Yeah.
You've had a moment where you look into the sun, you're like, whoa, I can't
Oh,
see a
yeah.
damn,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the
And
same thing for animals. And these are different things that we would
do
use.
rhinos have? I always hear they have poor vision. Is that true? Like they can't see too well?
They do have poor vision.
Okay.
Their strongest sense is their ears.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of see that. That's kind of like with an elephant, its strongest sense is probably its nose.
Yeah,
I would
probably.
say its nose. So you can tell, like for an elephant, like if I'm an elephant and I'm like this,
Yeah.
you might think my attention is over here, but if my trunk is like this,
Uh-huh.
it is that
Oh, yeah.
way.
He's getting
That's my
everything that's coming there. Okay.
Right. So like even though my whole body is facing different directions where my trunk is for a rhino, it's where their ears. So like if
Okay.
a rhino is casual, you'll see it kind of doing this,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of around. If a
Yeah.
rhino's like this, it's focused on something. It's like
Oh, it's
this, it's
honing
focused
in.
there,
Okay.
focused on there. So you can tell a rhino's direction based on its ears.
Wow. So for old man, you said he would let you guys approach him pretty close, more so than other rhinos, because he was very chill. So that must have been really. You said it was a beautiful experience, but I'm guessing it was beautiful because you had to be present, right? Even though he's nice, it's such a force of nature. Like you are not thinking about
Right.
anything else, right? You're just thinking about the
Well,
moment.
yes, and also like there were moments like sometimes if he was sitting, grazing, we would sit down and eat lunch
Okay.
or
Wow.
something.
That's a
You
crazy
know,
relationship.
or
Yeah.
like if he was sitting in a mud wall taking a rest, maybe we would just sit and take a rest.
That sounds
Like it was kind of
beautiful.
one of those moments where it's like, wow, we're accepted in this ecosystem in this moment. We're really like really a part of it.
Hmm. Did you guys ever have issues with poachers coming in to the reserve pretty regularly or just a few times?
Very, very regularly.
Okay.
Very
And
regularly.
so
And
what did you have to do with that? Like, did you guys confront them or how did that play out?
no, 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 no. That's not for us to do.
Oh, okay.
Because you got to understand, these are some of the most dangerous people in the world.
Yeah.
They have a job to do, and putting a lot on the line for a lot of money that's life changing
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people. So it's just not, you have to tread very carefully, I can say.
Mm-hmm.
We would work very closely with the anti-poaching unit.
Okay.
And like I said, I was in a national park, so it was government run. A lot of corruption in South Africa. So the government run establishments don't, the funds are not allocated where they should be. I'll just say that. And I lived right outside the reserve, and I walked my dog right along the fences of the reserve, and I would see the holes where, a whole bunch of people could fit through, a whole lion could fit through, just on the fence. Simple things like that. Like fence shouldn't have holes. That's so simple. You know what I mean? So we were working close with the anti-poaching unit, and I don't know if you ever read Moby Dick or anything, but
No, I haven't actually. I want to.
Well, if you ever read it, so the head of the anti-poaching unit, he reminded me of Captain Ahab, the way Captain Ahab would talk about hunting and killing Moby Dick, like it was just like he had always had a crazed look in his eyes because he was fighting a battle that he knew deep down he couldn't win, but he was so obsessed. And that was the way the head of the section rangers, the head of the anti-poaching unit for our particular section that we walked in, was about poachers.
Was his motive to protect the whale or hunt the whale?
No, he wanted to hunt the whale.
Oh, okay.
So my analogy is, like how the anti-poaching
how he was
unit
obsessed.
Poachers. Yeah, how they hunt poachers.
Okay.
And it's just a battle they can't win. It's just they're not on the ground like that. That's not how you win it. Because then it's like you follow the gunshots, which is like an animal's already dead. You know what I mean? And you're looking for the person, but there's just going to be more people that are going to, and the reserves are just way too big. I've heard a lot about different technologies that in trying to register all the firearms and sort of creating a grid, like I don't even understand how it works, but sort of creating a grid with a satellite where all the firearms that are within the certain area are picked up and registered. So if a new firearm enters the reserve, then that I met a father-daughter duo that I think were from the Netherlands, I want to say, who were working to try to pitch this to different reserves. So there's cool stuff like that I'm like, yeah, that's more the technology we need. But So I mean, we would see poachers, we would hear poachers, we would experience the old man was poached. That rhino that I was talking about.
That was very hard on you. Yeah, I remember you telling us that.
Yeah, that was just why that hit home so much for me was because, like I said, he's everything that every rhino would ever want to be. And that didn't matter to a poacher. All of that doesn't matter. You can live your whole life giving 110,000%, and then it's just taken. Somebody looks at you and just sees your horn. And that to me was just...
Man, that's gotta suck. But so they even took the horn, or were they stopped before that?
No, they took the horn.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so that was my pivot into conservation. The old man inspired my pivot into conservation because there wasn't exactly a whole lot done after that happened. It was just kind of like, oh, another one.
Yeah.
And then we just went back to work, and I was like,
yeah,
we're all just gonna go back and just do everything regular and just experience all this and get to be a part of this beautiful thing, and then we just don't care that that's happening. We're not worthy to be a part of this if we're not doing something about that side. I quit that job because I couldn't in my heart do it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if I could either. That's a crazy thing to go through.
Yeah, and I went straight. I left obviously I did it the right way. I gave my 2 weeks, left on a Friday. That Monday, 2 days after that, was my first day at the Rhino Orphanage.
Okay.
And I started as a volunteer.
And, how far was the orphanage from the previous place you worked at?
Not far, like an hour.
Okay.
Or something like that. Where I was in KwaZulu-Natal, there's so many different. That's where Tula Tula is, the game reserve from the Elephant Whisperer. It's just that's a really dense in game reserves and such.
Oh yeah. When you said Zululand, I was like, that's got to be Eastern South Africa because I'm reading the book right now. Okay, that's awesome. Have you visited Tula Tula as well?
Yeah,
That's sick.
yeah. That's a whole another crazy story. That's again the whole thing of like the way elephants communicate, how it just baffles me.
Yeah.
But that we can get into that story
Oh yeah, for
later.
sure. But so yeah,
Um,
you joined the orphanage now, right? The rhino orphanage. That's where you were at.
so yeah, that's where I ended up
Hmm.
there, and I had just spent so much time with rhinos and learned so much about their behavior and like just got to be a part of their family is essentially. And there was another female rhino that I had worked with at the reserve that we walked with very often, and she was super fertile. She always had a new baby, and she was such a good
Uh
mom,
huh.
and she was also very relaxed. And actually, she was quite often in the old man's territory, so at
Okay.
least one of those babies is highly likely that it's his,
Oh
which is a
wow.
really beautiful thing. Yeah, if not all three, could quite possibly be all three.
Wow.
Um, but so I got to see a lot of interaction between, mother and baby, and then older brothers and baby, older sister and baby. So a lot of different, interactions with infants.
Hmm.
And then going straight into the orphanage, I was like, wow, I'm like, I have so much knowledge for this.
Yeah.
And try to entice an animal to be more like, having the knowledge about the animal to entice to know how to play, having seen how older siblings play, like entice their younger siblings to play, or how he might be comforted by his mother, those
Yeah.
kinds of things. I applied that plus my veterinary background. It
Hmm.
was like, whoa, like I have a lot of skills that make me super helpful here. And
Wow. Yeah. That's all. You stayed there for how long?
I wasn't there too long. I think I was there like 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
I was meant to stay about a week, and I fell right in, and it was kind of like, whoa, I feel like I'm meant to do this.
Hmm.
And then the manager, I received probably the biggest compliment of my life. Just because of my experience, they using a lot of my knowledge and using a lot of my skills. And the manager, she was going away on leave for a little while,
Hmm.
and she was like, it would make me feel a lot more comfortable if you stayed. Like obviously you wouldn't be as a volunteer. You're not going to like pay a volunteer fee or anything like that.
Hmm.
She was like, will you stay until I come back?
Okay.
And I was like, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely, of
That's
course I
so
will.
sick. I saw another photo of you on the Facebook page with the baby rhino. I think the in that photo the rhino had like some towel wrapped around his head, like a white towel from what I remember in the photo. Do you-
Probably like a sensory deprivation.
oh, okay,
I
that's
mean,
what that
that
was.
might have been the manager there. If I'm just the photo I'm thinking of, then that would be Simone. That was the manager there.
Hmm.
But when they first bring in orphans, like especially while they're being transported and they've just experienced so much trauma because the bond of a mother and a baby
Oh,
rhino
okay.
is so strong, they're side by side attached at the hip for the first 3 to 5 years of the baby's life. So it's you can only imagine how traumatic it is
Hmm.
for a baby to experience the loss of its mother. So, and that stress, again, the gut health, like I mean, the stress in general is just so related to the immune system in so many different ways.
Oh yeah.
So to try to help to mitigate that stress, you do a lot of sensory deprivation. So I'll cover the eyes, cover the ears, things like that. Speak
Hmm.
quietly, lights down, that kind of thing. You'll
Okay.
see a lot in like wildlife medicine and stuff that they almost always instantly cover the eyes and the ears.
Hmm. That's kind of like a rule of thumb of kind of a lot of animal husbandry, because like with
Yeah.
birds, I've kept a lot of birds and stuff, and every
Oh
time,
yeah.
yeah, especially right now, we have a disabled quail. His name's Sweetie, so he came out of his egg with a bent neck. So I had to basically do a lot of extra work to make sure he lived, and he's thriving now. But he couldn't even drink or anything, like, because any type of dish, he would fall in and drown in himself. So I had to every
Uh,
hour with the CVS pipette make sure he stayed hydrated. So I kind of really bonded with him over the time, like growing him into like an adult bird. So obviously we're never gonna eat him, even though this is like organic farming at the end of the day that I'm doing. He's just like a farm pet. So yeah, and I have to cover his eyes sometimes because he gets spooked easily when a loud noise or whatever happens, and when I'm transferring him, I just cover his eyes because bird eyes they pinpoint in on something, and it can probably make them dizzy too if you're not covering their eyes while walking with them.
So effective,
Yeah.
birds and reptiles covering their heads.
Oh yeah, definitely. Speaking of reptiles, that video of the Mozambique spitting cobra that you took out of the bucket, that was nuts.
Yeah, so that's a cool another little like side thing that I did. So I was never formally trained in snake handling or snake removal.
Hmm.
I was dating a guy at the time who was, and he
Hmm.
taught me a lot. He eventually was transferred to a different reserve. So initially, like when we got there, they're very, very afraid of the snakes, the local people there.
Hmm.
Very afraid of the snakes. So they will just kill them. They see one, they kill it.
Okay, yeah.
And so when we got there, we were kind of like, listen, do not do this. Like we're profiting off of this wildlife right here. The very
Hmm.
least we can do is honor and respect it and do the right thing. Like you can't just be killing things. That is so wrong and disrespectful in so many different ways. Call
Hmm.
us. So that was the thing. Call us. You
Yeah.
find a venomous snake. And this was a lodge we were working at, a big fancy lodge with a lot of money. And when
Okay.
there's a lot of money, there's a lot of food. When there's a lot of food, there's a lot of rodents. When there's a lot of rodents, there's a lot of
Yeah.
snakes. So many snakes. So eventually when my ex got transferred to another lodge,
Hmm.
I was the
Main
snake
snake person.
person.
Oh my
So
god.
I would get calls, and there was a lot of Mozambique spitting cobras.
Oh my
And
god.
so you got to go with your, I had big lab goggles, or I don't know if I had lab goggles or something. I had snorkeling goggles at the time because you got to
Uh-huh.
protect your eyes. They can blind
Somehow.
you. They spit at you.
Okay.
And then,
Did you ever get
yeah,
spit at with the venom?
yeah,
Does it sting
yeah.
when it hits your skin
No,
even?
it's never touched me. It's never touched
Okay.
me.
Okay.
I've never been spit on, but I've been spit at
Okay.
plenty.
Okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
so you had to become the snake person essentially.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
so I would go to the hotel rooms. It was often in the hotel rooms or in the lobby, and you have to capture the snake. Got to get all the tools you need. Stay really calm. And that's a thing about snakes. You really you. It's one of those things that you want to just get right immediately, and then it's over.
Hmm.
Because if it becomes a whole fussy, stressful thing, and the animal starts to get aggravated, they start to get more aggressive, spitting more, moving fast, more striking.
Mm.
Whereas if it's just like come in, grab that thing, take it out, put it in the bucket, it's done.
Hmm.
That was I was just kind of like, all right, we got one shot at this, we're gonna do it right. And
Yeah.
that was sort of my tactic, and that worked
Wow.
for me. Thank the heavens.
That's
I never had
so
any
crazy.
issues.
So you had to use like a snake hook with like some sort of clip like clamping device?
Yeah, I never used the hook, but I would use the tongs. So
Okay,
what
the
I would
tongs, yeah.
do if there was a situation, I would be like, okay, I need a bucket with a lid that seals. Like duct tape if you have duct tape, but often
Hmm.
I would honestly, I am saying duct tape because that's ideal. That's like do as I say, not as I do, because often in the moment I would like
Yeah.
not even think about the duct tape, but because you want to tape the lid shut once he's in there because
Yeah.
they can poke their way out, as you know, they're strong.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but so you need a bucket with a lid
Yeah.
and the snake tongs. So that's what you got to do is basically you just grab them, get them in the bucket, close the lid as fast as you can. And then I would go drive deep into the park somewhere and release them.
And
And
how many snake calls would you get a week on average?
oh no, maybe like once every month.
Once every month. Okay. And so were they all Mozambique spin cobras or different species you had to relocate?
It was only ever Mozambique spitting cobras,
Okay.
thankfully.
Okay.
Which I'm thankfully that's still, it's venomous, it's
That's
cytotoxic venom.
really, yeah, it seems like a scary snake to want to relocate.
I know it is.
And
But
when you tipped the bucket over and the snake slithered off, yeah, that was an amazing video. And It was so satisfying to see him go into the tall grass and just disappear.
I know.
Yeah.
It feels so good. I was like, be free, my friend. It feels like such a victory.
Yeah, that's got to be that's probably one of the highlights of working in conservation, actually releasing animals into the wild. Oh my gosh, I want to do that
That's
someday.
what my thesis, my what do you call it? My master plan.
Hmm.
That's what that's on in essence is rewilding animals.
Rewilding animals. Okay.
Endangered species. So that's why the enrichment for orphan rhinos kind of pieces into that.
Because that's the eventual goal with those orphans.
Right,
Okay.
right. So for me, I want to have my own rhino orphanage one day. And now that you have all the context, there's going to
Yeah.
be a big statue of the old man.
That's a great goal that I hope you accomplish. And yeah, that's a game reserve or like any type of reserve. That's like a really that's like the mountain of anybody who wants to do conservation work, right? Owning a conservation or a game reserve like that. I was watching some YouTube videos on Namibia because it just got recommended. Like I traveled to Namibia, those types of videos. So I just clicked on one.
Mm-hmm.
The YouTuber, her name was Allison something, and she killed this video. It was amazing. Like
That's cool.
I didn't know Namibia was that beautiful. I kept thinking of the Dune movie, the science fiction movie Dune. With It came out 2021. It's based off of a science fiction novel called Dune, which was written in the 70s by Frank Herbert, and it's about a fictional planet called Dune, and it's just a desert planet called Arrakis, and there's like these cool like sandworm aliens, and it's just like a
Oh, that
beautiful,
does sound cool.
yeah, a beautiful planet with like pink, purple skies and stuff. And when I was watching that Namibia video, I was like, dude, we have Dune right here on Earth. It's Namibia. And like all those animals, like I thought in my mind Namibia was like just desert. It was like boring desert. That's what I thought of when I heard Namibia. But like there's
Right. No,
so
it's like
much.
a mix. It's almost like a desert savanna.
Yeah, desert, savanna, different rocks, rocky terrains, and she showed the interior of the places she was staying at, like the different lodges, and I was like,
Oh, that's cool.
that is goals right there. Like once I make money with my films, that's kind of what I want to spend it on, trying to get like a ecotourism lodge situated somewhere in the world. Because
Absolutely.
it's just such a win-win. You walk in, it's a beautiful kind of like luxurious camping, glamping. It's like a beautiful interior, a beautiful deck. When you open your door, it's like pristine nature. In the Namibia video, it was just desert and like a gigantic moon. Right after you open your door, that's what you
Uh,
see. And then the inside obviously is very luxurious. The outside is beautiful nature. You have a low carbon footprint because it's ecotourism. It's just like a win-win and win-win-win every which way. So that's something I want to do, but I want to get there through my films and my writing.
yeah.
Yeah. So we have kind of similar master plans, although I don't know what kind of ecotourism I want to do yet. I'm not thinking that far ahead. I'm just
Hmm.
focusing on like how to acquire the money right now because yeah, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money to start, to get it started, but
Hmm.
there are a lot of different ways that you can make money on your reserve.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
like as we know, there's grants, there's even, all different partnerships, getting students coming in, volunteers coming in, ecotourism, hunting, controversial one. So many different sort of ways you can take.
Yeah, definitely. The grants, I got to learn more about that. I got to learn like
Yeah.
how do I even go about that? Who do I
Yeah.
email and stuff? That would help out. But
Yeah.
I'm
Something I'm looking forward to learning about in this degree for sure.
mm-hmm. I'm wondering like what it would be like for somebody who has made it already with their work that I'm trying to make it with, which is writing and film. So like for example, like Delia Owens, the author who wrote Where the Crawdads Sing, she's
Oh, yeah.
she's made millions, like I think tens of millions, because that book is just like it's selling like wildfire throughout America and the world now, I think. And so I'm wondering like now she's got capital. I'm wondering like if she definitely has the ability to start some ecotourism lodge, and like I'm thinking if that's some route I could head, but obviously the grants would help as well. It's not guaranteed you're gonna make millions selling your writing or your videos, But I think
Right.
she has done some stuff. Like she started a foundation, like a conservation foundation or a fund of some sort, where it's like philanthropy for conservation. But yeah, it's interesting. And I want to make money through my writing and film. So that's the book scenario. That's if I do it through a best-selling novel or whatever. And the other scenario is videos. So that's YouTube. And eventually, I want to make documentaries that perform well on, let's say, Netflix or something. Like James Reed.
Mhm.
James Reed is a guy who made Chimp Empire on Netflix. He was on Megan's the company Megan works for. He was on their podcast Globio. Yeah,
Right, right, right.
it's really cool
I
because
gotta check it out.
yeah, I have to actually watch the podcast with James Reed because I haven't had time because podcasts are kind of a time commitment, but I have to watch it because I'm sure there's a lot I can learn. He made full-fledged documentaries, so he knows so much about camera usage in the outdoor setting. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, especially in a forest like in Gogo Forest. He's a specialist with low light camera technology.
I was just gonna say that. That is like,
Yeah.
well, obviously I do my photography, low light. Oh, that's
Yeah.
the Achilles heel.
What do you do for low light? Do you have to buy something or is it just settings within the thing?
Dude, no, I mean, having a camera. I mean, obviously, the larger the lens, the better, because the more light you take in.
Mm.
Um, honestly, I don't shoot in low light.
Yeah,
I
it's too
you know
difficult.
where I'm at. I am thinking. I'm trying to. Hopefully, we'll get a raise soon. But I'm my next big investment is a better camera. Because my camera really does struggle in low light. I don't have a secret for that.
Hmm.
What I will do that's kind of nice. This is a pretty good secret for anybody. If you have a subject, like at least something close that you're focusing on, and it's in a dark setting that you also want the background, what I'll do is I will kind of adjust the brightness so that the colors that I want are coming through. So perhaps if like
Hmm.
you are my focus and I would like I don't know, some sort of scene in the background, I'm going to ignore you and just focus on adjusting my brightness and my contrast
Hmm.
to make the background really nice. Then I switch the flash on.
Okay.
So now I've captured my background and the flash will just get what's in front, keeping the background true based on my
Okay.
adjustments that I just made.
That's a cool tip. Yeah,
It's yeah, I've taken some really nice photos with that.
I'm gonna try that out. Um, my next investment is a
Yeah.
lens that it's on Nikon's website right now. Their new super zoom lens, and I saw the price. I was like, huh, it's only 1,200. Whereas like the lenses that can zoom really far that I've seen are like 6 grand. So
Wow,
this
yeah.
new Nikon lens is like 1,200. So I'm kind of eyeing it because my lens right here, this thing cannot zoom for the life of it. Like it's just
Yeah, that's
for
more for wide.
yeah, this is just like recording me talking directly to the camera or something like, this is a very like beginner type lens. But
Oh, okay, but it comes out a little bit. That's
yeah,
cool.
it comes out a little bit. Um,
Okay, not
but
bad, not bad.
yeah, if it would have zoomed in more though, that would have been so good for my situation because
Yeah.
I'm trying to capture like cattle doing natural stuff. I don't want them to just be looking at me like deer in headlights. You know what I mean?
Right. Can't be
So
too close.
yeah, just getting animals doing natural things. That's what I'm trying to record this weekend. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna get a ton of practice regardless. But um,
Have you considered do you know what a bird hide is?
I know of it, but I don't know much about it. I've never done it.
So kind of taking the concepts behind a bird hide, like I know there's this gentleman, an ornithologist that I got really close to. He's like one of the big names in birding in
Really?
South Africa. You can see if you have like the Roberts Bird app. He was one
Okay.
of the authors of Roberts Bird Guide.
Oh wow. What
So
is his name?
Hugh Chittenden.
Okay.
It's good friend of mine. He's an
Wow.
incredible individual.
Nice.
Yeah, and his, and he's old school too. He's got stories and photos, and I mean,
Oh
just the
man.
photos to prove the closeness the proximity that he, achieves. And a lot of what he
Wow.
does is using bird hides or making like mobile bird hides. So what that is basically you're disguising yourself to fit the natural environment. So let's say I might like be right up against I don't know, like a beautiful pond with all these water birds that would be spooked otherwise. But because I have like a little house or some sort, even if it's like
Oh
a
yeah.
small mini tent that's covered in leaves or something with a little hole,
Oh yeah. You're definitely gonna get great footage doing that. Yeah.
that kind of thing, it might be something you'd be interested in because,
Yeah.
things won't even know.
Yeah. It broke up briefly, but I don't think I missed anything. Um. Yeah. Bird hides is something I can look into. Find out if I can do something like that this weekend even. Um. But yeah, this particular farm that I'm going to, it's so amazing. It's you know how Michigan's like a mitten? It's like the
Yeah.
tip of the mitten. So it's not in the Upper Peninsula, but it's just in the Lower Peninsula. It's like at the tip of the mitten, and so it's wild up there. Like the tip of the mitten and like this part of the Lower Peninsula is pretty dense forest. A lot of dense forest.
Oh,
Crazy
wow.
crazy populations of white-tailed deer and like smaller animals like coyotes, foxes, raccoons just everywhere. Birding is amazing up here. The lakes, there's a lot of lakes, and the only problem is the white-tailed deer here are a little. Their populations are overinflated.
Yeah.
But we do
Here too.
have, yeah, we do have the hunters ready to hunt them. But so her farm is like she has 40 acres, and the edge of it is a forest. Like the forest starts, and she owns a portion of the forest. So she lets her animals run in through the forest, like they play in the forest leaf litter, and like they interact with wild turkeys, and it's just amazing. When I went there, I was like, yeah, it was like an on the whim visit when I first
I was gonna say, how'd you even get connected to her?
yeah, last fall I drove up to Petoskey, Michigan. Just I got a cheap Airbnb because I was having wanderlust. I wanted to travel a little bit. So I went to Petoskey for like 3 or 4 nights and just wanted to check out the city, the surrounding nature trails, the lake. And then on the way back, I'm like, on my Google Maps, it's saying that there's a farm here and it's got great reviews. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make a little stoppage. I walked in, and there was no farm. It was just a house, and like a house with a sign that said "Welcome," right? And I just made sure, like, can I just go in? So I called them, and like, yeah, yeah, come on right in. So I walked in, and Wendy is the name of the farm owner. Uh, at first she didn't know who I was. I didn't know who she was. I'm just kind of asking her questions here and there. Then she started talking about natural systems, and it was over. I was like, we kept talking for like I think I was there for 3 hours, and I wasn't even planning on
Wow.
yeah, because she was super busy that day, and like she gave me a full farm tour. She showed me her ducks, her chickens. Then she went over to the cows, then the horses. We walked her entire property, and she showed me everything. And I'm like, "You're probably running out of time to do what you were doing when I got here." And she's like, "No, no, it's fine." But
I love that.
she's just like an infinite source of wisdom when it comes to farming organically with nature. It's just like it doesn't stop from her. So I was like, I wish I could share this and I wish I could capture this so I don't forget the stuff you're saying. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm doing this weekend. When I capture it, I'm going to share the best of it and try to piece together a video, which will be my IAP, and hopefully it gets views on my YouTube channel. Yeah. And what's crazy? Megan introduced me to her boss, which is Jerry Ellis, who's a famous. He's done so much in the field of nature photography and
Right.
videography,
Videography, right.
and like filmography and writing. And he's worked with Jane Goodall in the past, in the '90s or something. But and he knows just so much like about the film industry, and he gave me a lot of like constructive criticism on my YouTube. So now with the farming videos,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm so glad. I wasn't expecting him to help me out. I was just gonna talk to him for like 15 minutes over video chat.
Pick
That's
his brain a little bit.
yeah, like no, I was thinking he would only want to talk to me for like 15 minutes, but he was like
Yeah.
heavily invested into giving me advice and stuff. So he told me He told me I should stop posting farm content on my YouTube channel and just have that a wildlife channel, so that it's wildlife and wild places. Because he's saying I should have a separate channel about the farm animals and the eating healthy. Because people, when they come visit my channel, they're going to be confused. Like, is this a channel about wildlife and wild places, or is it about eating healthy? And
Okay.
you know what I mean? And I totally saw that. I was like, you're right. And like, so now I'm about to transfer all my videos that are about me talking about chickens and stuff. I'm going to transfer that to another channel called Eating Wild. So now I have like I can think clearly now, because before I was trying to merge the two. I was like, farm animals, wild animals, they all matter, and it's just like
Mhm.
I don't even have to attempt doing that, and I already feel so much stress off my shoulders after he told me that. So
Yeah.
yeah, like he knows so much, and he saw that, and he's kind of he told me to get this mic. He's kind of giving me tips on this weekend recording that I'm about to do. He told me to. He gave me the link for this, and I bought it. I'm about to like ask him again if he can like video chat again right before I go, because like I said, he's just like compendium of film knowledge. He owns Globio. He's the CEO of Globio, and he has a Talking Apes podcast on YouTube right now. And they've
Mhm.
got like they've conjured a lot of views on that channel on that channel. So he's got experience with YouTube as well, and he's actually friends with Casey Neistat, which is crazy. Um, just
Who is it?
Casey Neistat, he's a vlogger YouTuber that is really famous. But they have
Okay.
like dinner together in New York or something, and I'm like, that's crazy. So I was, cause
Wow, what a connection you've made. Oh,
yeah,
this is incredible. I'm so excited for you about this.
oh
So
yeah, thank
valuable.
you. I'm trying to finish all this like editing that I have like kind of backed up, so I can like contact him again, because like I know how big of an opportunity it is that he's willing to help me. So I want to,
So
yeah, ask him when he's available again. That's kind of what I've been up to, but it's a crazy amount of work I'm doing with, immediately you don't get much results. It's just like you got to keep grinding without any results for a few years. That's kind of the phase I'm in. I haven't been getting 8 hours of sleep. Like 7 to 6 is my average. But it's fun,
how
dude.
do you, let me ask you, because I'm sure you could notice by my on my blog that there's an inconsistency of like
Hmm.
posting my content. I really struggle with that.
With your Facebook
How do you
page.
maintain it? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not even consistently posting right now because I'm trying to get something to go super viral where I get some money coming in and some attention coming in, to where I can hire just one guy, one person, right? Because like once I get some help, I can be more consistent. But yeah, I've had stretches where I
Oh
was
yeah.
consistent. I've had stretches where of like 4 months where I was pretty consistent. Just making videos that were easy to make. Like if I was trying to make this type of video with all this equipment consistently, no way. Like because once I record all the footage this weekend, editing it and piecing it together, that's going to take literally months if I want to make like a really good film. I could pop out a little
Right.
bit of shorts, YouTube shorts before that, but to make like a finished 12, 15 minute documentary level film, that's like a few months long project, like 2 months minimum,
I
you know.
understand.
So like you can't really be consistent on like a weekly or bi-weekly basis on that. But yeah, I'm trying to get something to go viral because I need the views right now. Like I need something. I need to figure out how to get views, and like a lot of them, because I'm not in the partner program yet. I'm at like 400 some subscribers. Each and every one I'm highly grateful for, that I don't take for granted. But I gotta get into the partner program, which is 1,000 minimum subscribers and 4,000 watch time hours, and then you can at least get something coming in, because right now I'm just working. I'm working driver app jobs, so DoorDash, Uber Eats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of, yeah, supplement.
Oh yeah, supplement, and I need supplement right now. It's crazy because like this stuff is expensive, and then I need to get another lens, and I mean I have a computer science degree. Whenever I want, I can apply for some IT job, God forbid,
Yeah,
but I
that's
don't
right.
want
I
to.
always forget that that's your like your base of your background. That's right.
Yeah, but like I'd rather die than just work in an office. I'm just not that type. So,
Mm.
it is a fallback option, but I really want to work a job where it'll help me learn about my industry. So like something in
Yeah,
the film industry, or something in the publishing industry. So
right.
Yeah, I was looking at jobs as a staff writer at a publishing house or something in the film industry, whatever, like in the
That's
production
great.
of, yeah. So that'll be supplemental income and like added experience, just to know how that industry works from the inside out a little bit. Um,
Yep.
yeah, but
That's pretty much what I'm doing too.
yeah, how is it? Like, what is it for you? For like, how what job are you looking for to get you to where you're at?
Well, it's the job I have. So the job
Okay.
that I have right now, I'm a veterinary assistant at an exotic animal hospital.
Oh, okay.
So
So it's
yeah,
so many stuff to remember with all the people. I
I
forget.
know, I know. That's I don't even
Yeah,
take it personal. I felt like I
yeah,
said so many times. Have I told you this already? Have I told you this? I was
yeah.
just talking. I don't remember who I was telling this. Was it you? Blah, blah.
That's why these podcasts help. They help so much, like sync everything in that everyone said.
Yeah, I love this. I'm so happy we did this.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I kind of like I was saying when I was at the Rhino Orphanage, I realized like such like the importance of like my two sides, and that's like, or I guess three sides now with more like heavily conservation based. But there's the love for animal behavior and ecology, and then my veterinary background. So I
Hmm.
realized how valuable just being knowledgeable just in veterinary medicine is for a wildlife sanctuary and an orphanage, especially
Hmm.
when a lot of these infants are, they're in an ICU, they're critical.
Hmm.
Um, so and even in the Wren orphanage actually that I've worked closely with, they're actually renovating their ICU.
Oh, okay.
So they take on more more critical, like more infants, more critical patients.
Hmm.
So anyway, having sort of that side, I was like, all right, so I need to get better at that. See where I can improve in that area. And because there's an assistant, but then there's a tech or a nurse.
Hmm.
So like kind of like an assistant is like I was hired as an assistant, but I'm training to be a nurse.
Okay.
So that's basically like where I'm at and what I'm doing at work. So I'm learning how to do all sorts of different techniques for all sorts of different animals. And because
Hmm.
it's exotics, a lot of veterinary medicine is designed either for cats and dogs or for farm animals, like
Okay.
things that are going to make money or the pets that we love kind of thing.
I was gonna ask,
Um,
what kind of animals are usually coming in? Mainly cats and dogs, or
no,
also?
we don't see cats and dogs. So that's
Oh,
that's the thing. It's all exotics.
it's all
So it's everything
exotics. Okay.
from, any different type of reptile except nothing venomous.
Hmm.
But then, birds, all different types of birds.
Okay.
Uh, and then, rabbits and chinchillas and guinea pigs and even hamsters and gerbils. We have prairie dogs. We even had a
Wow.
wallaby come through. A lot of iguanas. We see a lot of iguanas. A
Wait,
lot of
so this is in Long Island? The
yeah,
Wow, so there's a lot of people keeping exotic pets there?
yeah.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought. That's crazy.
And especially because where we are, we're just outside Queens. So
Hmm.
we have the Long Island clientele, we have the New York City clientele, we have upstate New York clientele, Jersey clientele. It's like very central.
Uh-huh.
So we have a lot of different, different pockets.
Uh-huh.
But because everything is like made for cats and dogs and farm animals, it's so much innovation.
Okay.
So, and that's a big part I love. I'm learning like how would you even see fish and amphibians?
Hmm.
Like how would you give antibiotics to an amphibian or a fish?
Hmm.
You put it in their water and put them in an antibiotic tank and let them absorb it. Like stuff like that
Dude,
that I'm
that's
like, wow.
that's crazy. I actually had to do that with my fish. I had to do it twice, but like they had a weird
Mm.
fungal infection. I had to get something from PetSmart and do that. Like put it in the
Uh,
water in a separate
see?
container. But it was cool. It was satisfying to see him get back to full health. Yeah. You're
I bet.
you're really close to Queens, you said? Okay, that's where I was born. I was born in
Right.
Astoria. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
funny.
Not that
I
I
had nothing
not
there.
that I remember much about it because I moved to Michigan when I was like 4. Like if I grew up in New York, or else I'd
You're
be
in New
talking
York,
like this if I grew up in New York.
yes, that's what I did.
But
Like
I love that accent though, because like I got a lot of relatives that are still in Brooklyn and Queens, and every time I go, I gotta stay with them. And
ah.
yeah, my aunt, she has a very thick New York accent. She doesn't even have like she sounds American because she grew up here at a young age. She literally sounds like more thick accent than like Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street. It's so I
Oh,
love it though. I love it.
wow. It's cute. It's charming.
Oh yeah, and you know what's crazy? My dad is literally probably not too far from you right now because he went to visit for a wedding in Brooklyn, around Brooklyn, I think.
So funny. He's
Yeah,
probably like less than an hour from me right now.
yeah. He's
That
coming.
is
He's
so
flying back
funny.
soon, and it's just cool. I love New York because we've visited a lot. Although I didn't grow up there, we visited to see family and stuff. Usually, I get the subway train card from one of my aunts, and I'm just zipping around New York. I'm just going to Harlem, going to Brooklyn, going to Manhattan.
Oh, that's cool.
That's just how I like to travel. Like I like to be solo, nothing tying me down, and just I'm like,
So nice.
yeah, that's just how I like to do it. But yeah, it's just looking at your like interior of your house. I can kind of get New York vibes because I've spent so much time in New York houses. It's
Oh, that's
weird.
cute.
It's weird to explain. It's just I somehow know.
That's so funny. And
Yeah.
I only just moved in here like like a week before we left for Brazil actually.
Oh wow,
So funny. I know that was such a mess. So this is
that's
very new.
crazy.
But
You're
it's funny that it's reading New York though. I like that.
yeah. I don't even know. It's like subconscious, but
So
is
funny.
that I can barely see it. Is that a lion underneath the plants on your wall? Is that a lion picture?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's want me to show you? That's my
Oh, yeah, sure.
photography.
Oh, you took that photo?
That's probably one of my favorite photos I've ever taken.
Dang, let me see this.
Yeah,
Oh
you can
wow. Oh,
appreciate
I've
it.
seen that on your Facebook page. That's a great one.
There it is.
He's got huge eyelashes.
Oh my goodness. That's
Beautiful.
my prize.
Wow.
My my favorite. That's unedited too. I've edited it since and but this is another one of my photography.
Oh wow. Ha-
Lighting's so
okay.
bad, it's not showcasing it well.
That's a great one. That's in motion.
Yeah, oh, that was so cute.
That's nuts.
That young male who was playing by the water.
Oh yeah. I love
So
it when
cute.
artists show and talk about their baby, like their hardest work that they created, you know what I mean? I can relate to
Both
that.
the timing, I sat with that lion and that elephant for hours trying to get those shots.
Wow. That's awesome. That's the job of an artist is so difficult, like you're a photographer but you're an artist because you created those photos, right? But like just the job of an artist is hard because we don't live forever and we can only work so many years to increase our skill set to be able to even create art at a high level,
Right.
and then your time is limited, right? And it's just like whatever you can get out of while you're alive, that's it. um,
Right.
it's hard, and to have some of them become so great that they get famous, it's almost damn near impossible, but you still gotta try, and that's what we're both of us are doing right now. Me with my videos and writing right now. It's difficult, but it's crazy. If you're a true artist, you're happy doing it. You're not really concerned about the outcome, and
Right.
it's hard when you have no. This is your like you put all your chips into this. That's when it's kind of hard. But yeah, it gets important. You got to realize like you got to be enjoying it, or else the end products are
Absolutely.
gonna not gonna be good, because people can tell like you're just trying to get virality. You're not really trying to create.
Right.
It's huge. I've been learning a lot about the mindset through reading this book. I'm gonna show you it real quick. It's called The Creative Act. The Creative Act: A Way of Being.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is for anybody who creates anything. And if you're trying to be better at creating that thing, whatever it is, you should read that
Right.
book.
Yeah.
hmm It's pretty new. The author's Rick Rubin, uh, big music producer. He started up in Long Island actually, but
Ah,
yeah, since he's such a big name, the book's been selling like crazy on Amazon, and I got the audio book. It's so good. It's a very chill book. He doesn't use hard words because you know how sometimes books you gotta have the dictionary right next to you. It's a very rough, bumpy read. It's not like that at all. This is just like it's almost as if you're just conversating with him, and He's very zen. He's very like guru type mindset. It's something you listen to while driving or like
I like
walking.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's helped me out a lot as I am in the process of creation. It's helped a lot.
Hmm.
So, do lions have uh do the females have longer eyelashes than the males, or because those are huge eyelashes and I love it on the male. But I'm
Yeah,
wondering,
no.
are they all like that or?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say there's a difference with eyelash length. One thing that always really baffled me with lions and just with the big cats in generals is like, why are they so beautiful?
Yeah. Yeah.
I always wondered that. Like the, and my theory is the striking aspect that is like kind of like it kind of like catches you like off guard. I think there's something
Mm.
that, or maybe there's something that's sort of in the philosophy of like what we find beautiful that we're like, oh, I'm like captivated by that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The eye markings, just the beauty, the colors, the shape. It's very it reminds me of makeup, and almost how we like, because I like,
Yeah.
I'm into drag queens, and so I like,
Yeah.
painting the face and the contour and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I've noticed with lions in particular, the way the face is contoured
Uh-huh.
naturally, it's very similar to the way women put on makeup or men put. I can't. I'm
Wow.
talking about drag queens, and I say women put on makeup. That's ridiculous. The
Yeah.
way people put on makeup, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's very to me, I just have found it so fascinating,
That is
like that
fascinating.
beauty, right?
I don't know how women put on their makeup, but like I've always seen lions and how they look, and I know people comment like, "Dude, that's a sexy lion right there," on the YouTube shorts. It's a good-looking animal, and you saw the
Beautiful, stunning.
connection with the women makeup contours and the actual facial features of it. That's fascinating.
Truly. And what I can only assume is sort of that. That's sort of like my working theory is that the striking aspect of the beauty is something that stops an animal in its tracks, maybe distracts it, maybe makes it more intimidated,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things. Plus, there's a whole other side that's like, um, I believe it was New York Times. There was an article that was the science of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so fascinating in that it kind of basically broke down, like, particularly with insects and birds and animals that like use color to that see so much, they get so much from color. Like, why is the vibrance or the beauty of a bird's plumage something that would make an animal more enticed, like or a female more enticed to mate with him? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? What is the information that they're receiving from the vibrance of their feathers, the
Mm-hmm.
beauty, the markings, this or that, or even like the bowerbirds, the bowerbirds, how they set up that like bower, that altar, and it's the beauty and the creativity of it is what attracts a female. Like,
Uh-huh.
what are the females reading in the beauty? And it was this whole idea that there is so much information that you can actually get from beauty that
Mm-hmm.
we, again, back to this whole thing of us just not being smart enough to understand how smart
Yeah.
animals actually are, and that they're potentially reading maybe genetic information, maybe epigenetic information. They're, learning stuff about that individual throughout its lifetime. Not
Yeah.
only it's just like, its lineage.
Uh-huh.
There's that whole side too. It's like, what do animals read from beauty beyond us that are like, ooh, pretty,
Yeah, yeah. And a lot
you
of
know?
it a lot of it is subconscious too, right? It's like when you're just like it's working with you and another person, like you guys are conversing and people aren't talking over each other and it's just like a rhythm. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's a lot of it I feel is what everything you said with the epigenetics and stuff that we are not thinking about, but it's subconsciously we're just matching with this person like a puzzle piece.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um
Very cool.
That's a cool photo. I can't stop looking at the lion photo now that you turned the light on.
I
That's
love
such a great
that.
photo. How far were you from it when you took it?
Um, Probably the distance from me to this photo right now, I'd say.
Okay.
We were probably 15, 20 feet. I was in a car though.
Okay, yeah, I would be.
That was fun, but
It looks like you got a low shot though. Like it looked like you were on the ground, but you were in the car and you took it from the car.
I was in the car. Yeah, I took it from the window.
Okay.
And he was off in the distance. He was mating with a female. There's another really beautiful shot that I've in the past year, not even the past year, the past like 5, 6 months, I invested in a photo editing app.
Uh huh.
So I really like leveled up a lot of my photography just by, little tweaks here and there.
What
And
app?
it's called Luminar Neo.
Luminar Neo. Hold on.
It's excellent, really, really user friendly. Um, and it's just a beautiful way to really enhance a lot of your photos.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Luminar Neo. Oh, it's probably not
Yeah.
on it's probably not on the App Store, right? Or is it a computer thing?
It might be on the App Store. I don't remember. I have it as an app here on my Mac.
Okay.
It's a little bit pricey though. I think I paid a little over 100 for it for
Mm-hmm.
the year.
That's good to know,
But it's
though.
truly excellent. Yeah, and a lot of the photo editing apps that are free are not enough anyway.
Yeah. Jerry Ellis has been telling me to get Lightroom because he was showing me his whole
Oh,
Lightroom
yeah. Okay.
workflow.
Adobe.
Yeah, and I got right now I got this is not what you're supposed to use this for. This is Procreate, which is a digital art app. Because I used to do
Oh,
digital
okay.
art, but this thing is capable of a lot actually. But eventually I need to upgrade to an actual photo app, and I got LumaFusion. So I got Procreate and LumaFusion. They're both $10
Okay.
each. $10
Oh,
each, but they have so much technology for those $10. It's pretty good bang for your buck again. But I'm about to get a Final Cut Pro as well, because I've been using nothing but iMovie since I
oh,
started going hard
wow.
on. Yeah, I started going hard on YouTube like last fall, like around November. So it hasn't even
Oh,
been a year yet.
wow.
So I just wanted to familiarize myself with everything iMovie has to offer, and before I got Final Cut Pro,
Smart.
so I can like appreciate it more, you know. But
Yeah, and see what you can squeeze out of the free one.
yeah, I was trying to squeeze out of the free one, and then this October I'm going to Dallas, Texas for a video conference, which is like a YouTube video conference. It's called Vid Summit. So I'm hoping to meet some people there. It's purely for networking that I'm going there. What?
That's going to be awesome. Smart.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope I'm not. I don't know if I'm excited. I've never done anything like this. A video conference. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's worth the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
just
sec.
be open to it and see if you can have something you can hand out, whether it be a business card, maybe see if you can print business cards before.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I got business cards.
Nice.
It's funny because I told you I DoorDash, right? So when I
Yeah.
drop off an order, every order I drop off, I just leave one there. So every day I get like 2 subscribers because out of the 10 or so deliveries I do, 2 people they subscribe. It's funny.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's great.
I used Vistaprint to print like 1,500 cards for like a nickel each. Yeah. I got the QR code on there for the channel, but I'm trying to focus on like my actual content and get like a branding to it. You know how certain YouTube channels, you look at one of their videos and you know like, oh, that's that guy, because you just look at the video and you see the style how he
Yeah, yeah,
styled it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that for my
Oh,
channel.
yeah, your brand.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
branding, personal branding, where you just come across it and it's like, oh, that's a Wild Primal video, that's a Sadat's videos, because of
Yeah.
how I structured the image, and they have to all kind of resemble each other. That's something Jerry Ellis told me I got to really hone in on. I'm thinking of doing it like similar to Paul Saladino, he's a creator who talks about eating carnivore diet and stuff, grass-fed meat. Um, he also talks about the environment, which I like, because you can't just do carnivore diet. That's horrible. That's like if you're just buying industrial meat, you're supporting mowing down the Amazon, and you're bad for
Yeah.
your body. But he's a cool guy because he also mentions the eco consciousness aspect of it. So he's saying like make sure the meat you buy is good for the environment as well, because that's really good for you. Um, his style of videos is he's always shirtless. He's got a kitchen full of different foods that he's talking about, and he's just talking about it, right? And he's getting a lot of views, but every time one of his videos pops up, you don't even have to read the title. You know it's a Paul Saladino video because of the way
Yeah,
it's
even
angled.
just being shirtless. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to do that, although I'm not
There.
confident. Like I've been working out like crazy.
Nice.
Probably I don't know. I want to say 25 pounds I lost, but I'm trying to lose another 20.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be like pretty much like jacked right in front of the camera, and then I can do a similar type of videos where I'm outside barefoot, wearing my shorts, no shirt, turkeys around me. I want that kind
Yeah.
of to be my branding, and I'll wear this thing too. This is gonna stick in people's minds.
Yeah.
I'm the guy with the tooth necklace and the turkeys and the ducks, talking about regenerative farming and all that.
I never considered that. The branding of just like any random clip of your video.
Yeah, because like my videos, I was in the experimentation phase, so there's a lot of different styles of videos all in one channel, which is not good. Jerry O's told me that, and I agree with that. I just when he pointed it out, I realized how big of a problem it was. It's like my videos are kind of all over the place, so I have to find and fall in love with the structure of like branding.
Yeah, that you're gonna stick with.
Yeah. Do
Very
you
smart.
do you have a website or anything other than the Facebook page?
No.
Okay, because I would love to like included that as well. But I'll definitely include your Facebook page.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad with technology. I'm bad with my phone. I'm bad with social media. I'm bad with all sorts of things that are very, very important. So I'm trying to be better. And the blog was a big step for me. Really, really stressful. And it's so simple, just posting pictures. That was like so stressful for me just because
You just gotta
I
keep
don't know.
you gotta keep at it until you find like a flow of something that works. You gotta enjoy it too, because like maybe Facebook's not the right one. Maybe you'll fall in love with the Instagram workflow. Maybe you'll fall in love with another app. But the
There.
thing is, you gotta like go back and attack it. I feel until you find it.
Right.
Because I've really love YouTube, but Instagram has a different type of like. Not that I have experience growing a huge page, but like Instagram is different than YouTube. And Ashley Reve, she has experience growing an Instagram page. Her page has 15,000 followers. Some
Wow.
major people shared her stuff, um, and she hires people to post consistently on her Instagram page with like professional videography skills and stuff. So the
That's so
workflows are all different, and I think it's just trial and error. See what keep producing, see what sticks, and then once you find it, just keep doing that. Yeah, we'll find it. We'll both find our flow.
I know, and it's funny because it's like it's also really important. Like though there are so many different avenues, and Instagram and TikTok are obviously the most popular. It's it's also important considering like who is even your demographic, and like what do you need to show them as a whole? Is it just going to be pictures, or is it going to be so much more than that? Or and how is it
Exactly.
even like how is it digested? Like what I like so much more about Facebook is these groups, like the
Oh yeah.
groups you can be in, whether you're going to be in a birding group or conservation of Southern Africa group or Long Island wildlife group or anything like that are these super specific places where communities are made. It's literally like making a virtual community. And to tap into that is so much more personal
Oh yeah.
than something like, you're just scrolling through everything and you see something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you get to meet those
Um,
same people that are your fans of your work, like
right. And
basically
I
every
don't think
day.
that doesn't exist on Instagram, does it? Where you can have
Oh, not
different
so
like
much. Probably
groups
not.
like that?
Yeah, on YouTube, kind of, I guess, because you can. Well, then you stray away from YouTube because people do stuff like Patreon and like those other websites where, like, do you know how Patreon works?
No.
Patreon is really cool because once you got a good following on YouTube, you can add a little Patreon link in your next video and mention it in the video, like, hey guys, I have a Patreon now. And Patreon is basically people can pay you monthly for content that not everybody else gets to see unless you're a member.
Huh, it's like the wholesome OnlyFans.
Yeah, the wholesome OnlyFans, basically. But yeah, it's like a kind of a group getting formed because, like you said, with the Facebook groups. But then again, that's not YouTube. That's Patreon. Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
that's how
see.
YouTube does it. Yeah, because YouTube's comment section is their comment section is so linear. It's like you can comment and you can
Yeah,
reply to a comment. You can't do anything else, and you can like a
right,
comment. There's no groups. There's no groups or nothing
right.
like that. So
That's a perfect way to describe it. It's linear.
yeah, it's very linear. A lot of creators complain about it because Google has all the technology to make it non-linear, but it's still the same. That's why Patreon, Kickstarter, Reddit, they kind of finger their way into YouTube, and then people leave YouTube uh, through descriptions of the video. They click on a link to the Patreon, and then they go talk and stuff in like outside of YouTube. But I mean, that's what I'll do if that's what's happening. Um, just got to get something to go viral first. So right now I'm learning like crazy. I'm like a sponge. I'm just learning like how different audio works, like how this thing works, how like the micro SD and this like little micro SD I bought, how I have to use
Oh,
that
okay.
with the adapter and like this audio, the other mic I showed you, the lavalier mic, and I have another mic upstairs for my podcast and stuff, which is a bigger Shure MV7. So like once I get over this little hill of just learning how
The
to
learning
use the
curve.
tools, then I'm gonna start pumping out content like crazy, see what sticks. Cause like this is what I want to do. I just want to create like a bunch of videos, different types of videos, and then wait for see which ones go get more views and why, and then try to recreate that, and then hopefully get something that gets hundreds of thousands of views, and then just keep on doing that. um, that's why I haven't been posting much. You check on my YouTube. There's not much I posted.
Mhm.
Because I'm just learning. I'm learning about like the actual how to use the equipment.
What is your most popular video?
Most popular video is a 25-minute video about gray wolves that I just made, like because I didn't know what else to make, and I'm really interested in wolves, and so this one got 16,000 views.
Oh, wow.
But I guess my most viewed video is this one that got 19,000, but that's a 28-second video. That's not nearly as valuable to me as this 16,000 video, which is 25 minutes long, because it's about the total amount of minutes, which is watch time
Right.
hours. And since that one's only 28 seconds, even if it had a million views, it would be a total of like not that many watch time hours. Whereas this one, average viewer retention was like 6 minutes. So 6 minutes times 16,000. This video alone gave me 1,500 watch time hours.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So if I can make more videos similar to that, I haven't been trying to, because I'm still in that experimentation learning phase. But I really have to start making those types of videos. Like I might make one on grizzly bears. Like, did you know about the grizzly bear? Something enticing with a really nice photo of a
Yeah.
grizzly
Yeah.
bear, and
Right.
then that will get me the watch time hours.
So do you think that's what people are most interested in, like having a specific topic that's like it's very honed in, whether it be one like particular species of animals and being like an informational thing?
Yeah, it's so different. It's hard to predict what people click on because then you'll have other videos that are like, look at all my pets, and it's like 30 different animals, which is totally different than honing on one animal.
Right.
At the end of the day, you just gotta keep trying, and you'll start to figure out what people like, and that just comes through trial and error. Because your goal at the end of the day is to have them stop scrolling when your video pops up and click on
Ah,
it. Um, and that the only way to truly learn that about your specific type of content is just trial and error, see what sticks, see what works.
right.
And I haven't been doing that much because, like I said, I'm learning about hardware and stuff and equipment usage. But yeah, I can't wait to. I have to actually start doing that, like actually posting for virality, like literally tomorrow. Today I posted a little writing piece. That's actually what I wanted to show you. I do creative writing, right? Because I told you I also want to be a writer. So if I want to be a
Right. And you have to
writer,
work.
I gotta actually write if I want to get better at it. So today I posted this little creative writing piece. It's called Fireflies and Starry Skies.
Ah.
It's just talking about how we're losing fireflies and how we're blackening up our stars with
Wow.
civilization. So it's not that long. It's a really short one. See, it ends right here.
Okay.
But this took me like, I don't know, total of like 5 or 4 hours of just creative writing. Like this isn't an assignment. This isn't something I
Yeah.
have to get done. It's just let's express myself. It's been a lot of work, but it's fun work.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like a matter of, I guess, at least for me, time managing to make it all happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed when you have your hands in so many different, you know,
Yeah,
tools.
I get overwhelmed too sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. But it is kind of cool. It's been nice to kind of combine things and like this degree, Project Dragonfly has just been giving me so much fuel and so much motivation for so many different things. Like it even has me looking at my blog a little bit differently. And I'm
Uh huh.
kind of like looking at it like, well, people seem to like the stories that I tell.
Uh huh.
And then I look back at, one of the articles in our textbook that was all about, I forget what it's called, this like narrative transportation, something like that.
Hmm.
That's like the power of storytelling and how it can like literally transport, well, I shouldn't say literally, but it can
Hmm.
like mentally transport you somewhere,
Oh
just
yeah.
put you in that whole thing and just make the information that you're telling through that story just so much more effectively understood and effectively
Yeah.
digested.
Exactly.
And and that's been something that I've been thinking a lot more as I move forward and post more. Like even as I look in other posts, like how captivated people are in like a lot of like birding groups and stuff, but people tell stories. When
Hmm.
someone posts a picture of a bird, it's like, okay, that's cool. But when someone is like, I walked out today and saw this, blah, 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 and the bird you wouldn't believe, blah, blah, blah,
Hmm.
and made it very personable and kind of
Yeah.
took you on that journey, people love that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about that and, how I can translate that to whatever information because I like it to be informational. I
Hmm.
like to, share different things, but you can share a lot of information through the stories you tell, like even if it's just anecdotal stuff.
I'm exactly right there with you. I'm trying to like educate people at the end of the day, but doing it in
Yeah.
a certain way. Yeah. Like with the information sharing, like for the article I just showed you, Fireflies and Starry Skies, I talked a little bit about like when a firefly hatches out of its egg, it's in the larval stage, and how they have sharp mandibles with a chemical that paralyzes their prey, and they have a voracious appetite like the larvae do, and that they kill and consume vast quantities of worms, slugs, snails, and that has a huge effect on like the stabilizing like the entire food web because they eat a bunch of insects and they themselves are prey for birds and lizards, and it's just like
Mm,
if firefly populations go down, everything is getting affected by that. So
seriously, especially snails are like monster eaters. To even just control them is so important.
oh yeah. So I had to kind of sneak in that informational paragraph into this whole article, which was
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because it started off with wherever humans settle and civilize the land with roads, buildings, telephone poles, and lights, fireflies, just like the stars in our sky, begin to vanish. Habitat loss, light pollution, and pesticide use are some of the primary reasons firefly populations are a mere sliver of what they once were. And then I started talking about, like I said, a few weeks ago, I was walking back inside the house after feeding our turkeys and ducks their evening meal when I paused for a moment. The grass felt cool under my bare feet, the air was warm and dry, and the thrum of crickets and cicadas was almost deafening. The sun was getting low, but another form of light was increasing fireflies. Our entire yard glittered with minuscule but bright yellow lights that flashed on and off in perfect synchronization. So that's kind of just like I'm just kind of talking. I'm not really educating. But then the second
Right.
paragraph, I'm really educating. It's all informational with like what they eat and their ecosystem stabilization. But
Life cycle and yeah.
yeah, so I'm just figuring
That's
that
a
out.
beautiful way to do it.
Yeah, this took a bit of like I had to take large sections out and decide to toss it in the trash and decide what to keep. And then I said, those of us that live in large cities with 9 to 5 jobs may go to work each day or the grocery store each week to buy processed foods wrapped in harmful plastics, paying no mind to the environment around us or the sky above us. let alone fireflies, which do not even live there. And then I said, the sky has no stars and stuff. And then I went down and talked about like the past, what it used to be like. I said, so I included this image that I found of the Milky Way, free image. And then I said, stars and fireflies once lit up the nights of the past. During those primeval times when the simple pleasures of a full stomach and a place to lay were enough to expunge all our desires. Hunter-gatherers would sit around fires and chew on meat from an animal they killed not too long ago, while surrounded by fireflies beneath starry skies. Darkness was ablaze with supernatural light as children played and adults laughed over the crackle of a roaring flame. And then came story time, a mystical activity that led to the formation of all our ideas and inventions. Science, math, history, philosophy, art, all of it has been influenced deeply by the old stories. So then it's called Fireflies and Starry Skies, so I have to talk about the starry skies too, right? I only talked about the fireflies, so I was like, shoot, I gotta make a little informational paragraph on like galaxies and stuff. So I said, sorry if this is boring you. This is the
No,
last
it's
paragraph.
not.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay, this is the paragraph where I talked about stars. I said, all of it has been influenced deeply by those old stories that we told to each other as hunter gatherers. We told these stories to one another under the cosmos, under great galaxies, shooting stars, harvest moons, and constellations, under the divine white disk that is the incredible Andromeda galaxy, another reality in the universe over 2.5 light years away from ours. Under that dark belt of stars and planets that gracefully cuts across the inky blackness of the night sky with the ferocity of a trillion suns, which is the Milky Way, under the red glare of a blood moon, or under the ominous red glare of a blood moon, under Orion the hunter, Sagittarius the archer, Draco the dragon, and many other cosmic works. The sky was alive at night. When you looked up, it must have seemed like there were more stars than black. To think that each and every star is still up there in our sky, each one at the exact position as it was during countless storytime sessions from generation after generation of hunter-gatherer families. Now, much of the cosmos is simply not visible in areas with light pollution, where most of us currently reside. The world today is far less magical. Many of us have forgotten that the stars are still up there, that the universe is far larger than our lives, that the fireflies still fly. And I just ended it there. So I was
That's
just like,
beautiful.
yeah, I was just like practicing the writing muscles, because you can't just dream of being a writer and expect it to happen. You got to actually write a lot every day.
But you have a beautiful style. You really are. You're very good at it.
Thanks.
You
I've
know,
been trying
you
to build
really
it up.
take me on the journey. You really did. What I love about those like connecting those two things.
Hmm.
I recently, past few months, was at a friend's house, and he has a big, beautiful backyard,
Okay.
and we were just walking around, just going for a little walk, and found ourselves in like a super dark area, and we were just chit chatting, and then all of a sudden we kind of looked around us and realized that we were in this sea of fireflies.
Oh my gosh.
And my first thought was, I feel like I am in the sky surrounded by constellations.
Wow. So you
You
also
know,
made a little connection with the stars and the fireflies.
100%, right, in my own like
Yeah.
uh,
They're
metaphorical
similar. They're
abstract
both
way.
they're both light beauty, it's just. And when you notice that you're surrounded by fireflies, I can relate because like my jaws just drop. It's like holy crap, that's gorgeous.
Wow, I am
Yeah,
in this sea. I'm part of this whole.
yeah, because like a bunch of them will flash their light on at the same time, and you get a bunch of light at once, and then it's just like, well, holy crap, that is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
That makes me think like, what was it like naturally before any like lamp posts or any light pollution? How many were there? There were probably obviously a lot more, and how must that have looked like?
Right. And before people even realized what they were,
Yeah,
you know, that they were just something you look up and you see something and then you look around you and you see something that's very similar.
yeah,
But surely there's a lot of lore, there's been a lot of stories that have connected the two, right?
uh huh,
Because they're so similar, and without more fine knowledge, like, oh, those are insects, they have this specific whatever it is, protein that lights up, blah 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 blah. Now we know all this.
Yeah.
Before it was just the same thing. You look up, you see one thing, you look around you, you see the same thing.
Yeah, we didn't know the facts, and like that's where like a lot of lore came out, and even religion, like you know. So it's like it's really cool. I want to experience Earth that way, not knowing all the science behind it, just like looking at it, just like making my own conclusions just based on what I see real quickly initially. That was different.
My old boss in South Africa, when I was doing the walking safaris,
Hmm.
he like super traditional Zulu. I would just call him a bushman. He grew up in one of the most beautiful forests in the area,
Hmm.
one of my favorite forests, Makuze, and
Akuze.
they're just known for their abundance and variety of birds in
Okay.
particular. And the man is so connected with nature, maybe more so than anybody I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
And one thing that he would say often is he would like just be honest, rant on his soapbox, like, we ruined everything when we named things. Once we
Oh
gave
yeah.
things
Hmm.
names, we stopped looking at them for what they are, and you're just like, oh, that's that.
That's the
It's like, oh,
bad
that's
side
I
of it.
see that.
Oh yeah.
Right? Instead of you're like experiencing like the essence of another being,
No,
or
I
you know what
totally
I
get
mean,
that.
that's out the window because it's like, oh, that's a mosquito.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get that because it shows that there's pros and cons to everything. Like, there's pros and cons to naming animal species and pros and cons to not naming them. Like, the con is that you don't want to just brush it off like, oh, that's that species. Well, you didn't look at it, you didn't observe it because you just like dumbed it down to the name. Yeah.
Right. Something you could absorb and be like, understand it, move on.
Hmm. And nature and ecology is not like that. It's not like this is the perfect quote for that. My article that I started off, I included a little quote from the book I showed you, Creative Act, and it's literally this that we're talking
Which
about.
one? Your synthesis?
Oh no, this article, the Fireflies article
Oh,
that I
that
showed you.
article. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I started it off with a quote from Creative Act, the book I showed you on my audiobook.
Yeah.
He says, nature transcends our tendencies to label and classify, to reduce and limit. The natural world is unfathomably more rich, interwoven, and complicated than we are taught, and so much more mysterious and beautiful. Deepening our connection to nature will serve our spirit, and what serves our spirit invariably serves our artistic output. So that's kind of what we're talking about there with the naming.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Because you can't really, it's not like math, it's not like a math subject or anything. It's different. It's like it requires you to just
Right.
be there and observe, you know?
Right. Because it
Yeah.
almost gives us the illusion that we completely understand it.
Yeah.
It's like, ho, 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 you
No.
have no idea, and you never will.
Yeah, you never will. That's the thing. That's the
You
crazy
never will.
thing. And I like it that you never will because
Me
that's the
too.
sense of adventure. Like, if there was a finish line and you reached it, it's just like, now what? But you'll never reach that finish line.
Right.
It's infinite complexity. Yeah.
And it also is like, it speaks volumes of the potential in the industry too. Like, of course, there are the greats that we all know and love and idolize, but the sky really is the limit because it's like nobody's finished, nobody knew it all, nobody's mastered it. Impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's crazy? Speaking of stars, I was outside one night and I was looking up and I was like pretty shocked with how many stars were in our driveway. Um, Nothing like what I saw in Yellowstone. It was Yellowstone star. The stars are just crazy. There's so
Okay.
many, but like whatever I had in my driveway, I was just kind of like shocked by the beauty of it. And I'm like, I never really look at the stars in my own house. So I was looking at it, and then I saw like four stars like moving like this. And I'm like, that's not a plane, is it? And I looked really close. It didn't look like a plane. And to this day, I swear I saw aliens, because like that looked so weird. It looked like a check mark, like how ducks fly, except they were stars. Like they look like stars. They're just going, and I'm like, am I tripping right now? It was crazy. Like I
Mhm.
think it was some solar system thing. Like sometimes comets will go. I don't know, but in Yellowstone, there's so many comets. Like Yellowstone's a patchwork of stars, like a lot of stars everywhere, and you'll see like a lot of them are moving. A lot of them are just like moving across the sky like that. I'm like, is that normal? I've never. Why does nobody talk about that? It's just like it blew my mind.
Yeah, definitely had a couple moments on Long Island experiencing stuff like that, like
Mm-hmm.
whether it be right, like very slow moving stars that are like obviously on a different track, or they even I've seen ones that like obviously some that are just moving straight,
Yeah.
but then others that almost like seem like they're exploring,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
creepy as heck.
Yeah, I've seen that quite frequently.
Yeah.
Um, the stars, the night sky in South Africa, it's the most beautiful sky I've ever seen in my
Oh, I
life. That's
believe
you
it.
can see the Milky Way too, and just look up at the sky. Like I spent so many nights looking up at the sky, and I would
Wow.
just see like, I'd be like, yeah, I just saw 15 shooting stars. Like it's
My
just
gosh.
what you can see is just unreal.
I could just watch that all night, just like lay a blanket down and that's better than TV. Like really, I really prefer that over TV, honestly. If the Milky Way's out.
You know what you would have loved? The first game reserve that I studied at,
Mhm.
our little like student and volunteer accommodation was about mm, maybe like 200-300 feet from the fence of the reserve. And in
Mhm.
that particular section, like just on the other side of the fence in the reserve was couch grass. And couch grass is very palatable. It's like sweet and
Couch
delicious. So
grass.
it's a favorite of a lot of
Okay.
grazers. And so pretty much every single night, I would sit out there, and unless it was full moon, you can't really see anything, so it's all in your ears and your smell and such.
Yeah.
So I would lie out there, I would lie on my back, and I would look at the stars and watch the shooting stars, and I would listen as closely as I could for munching.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what I would know. And based on how many mouths I heard munching, I would get an idea of what it was. And that's when I would get my torch involved or move. And the things I saw right on the other side of the fence would be family of rhinos,
Wow.
or maybe a pair of rhinos rather, or like a family of elephants or
Uh, that's crazy.
stuff like that. That you would have loved that.
Yeah.
Every single night. I never missed it.
How old were you at that time?
Uh I was at that time, it was 2019, so maybe about 4 years ago. 2018 or maybe
Mhm.
2019 was about
Okay.
5 years ago. I'm 28, right? So
Okay,
maybe I was
nice.
23,
Gotcha.
22, 23.
Dang, you've had a lot of travel experience. Have you done a lot in the US or is it mainly international stuff you've done?
I mean, it's hardly even international. It's mostly South Africa is like at
Okay.
least the solo travel I've done. I mean, I've done family trips like South America and stuff like that, and then of course
Okay.
Brazil with school.
Oh yeah, your
It
family is you're Latin American, right? So you're where are your parents from?
So my mom's family, my mom is first generation American. Her
Okay.
family is from Puerto Rico. But it's still America. But then
Yeah.
my dad's Italian, so I'm a mix.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I never knew that about you. I mean, it's a weird question to ask, anyways, but
Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
good.
Yeah. When Project Dragonfly had their what was it, Latin American Women Day or something, they included you,
Yeah,
and I'm like, I didn't know you were Latin American. That's
yeah.
cool.
That was such an honor, and it meant so much to my family because, like, a lot of the women in my family are really, really involved in, like Hispanic businesswoman association, like things like that. And
Hmm.
like my grandma's received like so many because she was a social worker for most of her life, so
Okay.
she received a lot of like I don't know, from the Social Workers Association or something like
Yeah.
Hispanic Woman of the Year. And my mom's also been like Hispanic Businesswoman of the Year, like those kinds like big honors.
Yeah.
So for me to get something like that, I was like, look,
That yeah, that
guys,
was really cool.
making everyone proud.
Yeah. And they had that great photo that I took of you.
I know that
Yeah.
was your photo. And I
Yeah.
sent them like 5 or 6 different photos and they picked that one.
Oh wow. I think you looked really good there because that was
Perfect.
natural emotion. I didn't tell you to act, right? It was just I just
Yeah.
took the photo, so that was purely your emotion at that moment.
It
You
was
know what
like
I mean?
just spiders too, such a random,
Yeah.
thing to be intrigued
That's low key one of the best photos I've taken because, like I said, pure emotion, and I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
taken anyone's photo where it was pure emotion. It's always just a smile or like do this
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, that was a great one.
Special photo.
Things
And it
happened at the
meant
right
a lot
time.
that it came from there. What were you saying?
Things aligned at the right time. Like you looked at the spider in the perfect way at the right moment when I took it. Yeah.
Right through the thing. I know that was so cool. And it meant a lot to have that photo from that place for that particular message that was empowering,
Oh yeah.
Latinos, and like for me specifically because it meant so much to me to see, particularly women. I'll say I know that wasn't all about Latinas, but it was
Hmm.
just like about all Latinos, about everybody, male and female.
Yeah.
But being in Brazil, like it meant so much to me to see so many Latinas,
Yeah.
even just women, but then the fact that they were Latinas, so it was just another way for me to see myself. And
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Obviously, that would feel great, seeing that.
yeah, because I mean, in South Africa, I didn't see a lot of women doing what I did. I saw nobody that looked like me doing what I did. I
Hmm.
was often the only white person, or pretty much always the only woman.
Hmm.
Um, so it was really hard because it was a lot of, and then the fact that I'm American, so everyone thinks we're idiots.
Yeah.
So there were so many. I was always proving myself. People were
Hmm.
always assuming that I had no idea what I was doing, or that I was just rich and just ended up there or whatever. And like,
Yeah. That's what Paul
you know,
Rosalie had to do the entire time he was in the Amazon because he's the only white man. They also,
right,
oh, look at this gringo. That's what it
right,
boiled it down to.
right.
Yeah, he had to do some other ways of fishing to just to let people know that he knew how to fish the traditional way there,
Yeah.
which is it's kind of weird. It's like they take their a knife and they cut off a piece of callus skin from their heel and they use that as bait. And that's how like the traditional indigenous people do it. So when he met the loggers, he did it just to show them that he wasn't just some stupid gringo. He knew how to do it their
Cool,
way.
cool. Right. And
Hmm.
it also kind of goes back to the whole thing that I know, like our instructors brought up a lot of this whole idea of, a lot of these countries were colonized. And
Hmm.
that's something that I also wrote about in my book, not my book, in my synthesis paper too.
Hmm.
Just like I wrote it like kind of briefly in the introduction, just kind of touching upon um just like colonialism in general, and in a lot of these countries that are conservation hotspots, where
Yeah.
it's like you have these big like global northern or like American, European, first world countries that are now coming in to initiate conservation projects when they historically might have colonialized or been a reason for the need for conservation at this point,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of like an interesting thing that's like, who the hell are you coming in here trying to act like a hero, fixing a problem that you had a major hand in creating?
Yeah.
So we're white. So I understand, like, when as white people are, coming into countries where kind of like, who the hell are you? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And showing that sort of side, right, is like, no, no, no. I respect what you're doing. I respect your way of life. I have a lot that I can learn from you. I'm here as a friend. I'm here as an equal.
Hmm.
That's huge. It really is huge.
It was a bit of a hurdle you had to get over, you'd say? Just them treating you like you don't know much?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it was just, not something that like traditionally women were involved with. So that was like hurdle number one,
Hmm.
and a physical, it was a physical job, it was a lot of walking, holding heavy rifle, holding heavy backpack, holding
Yeah.
water for you, your guests, your, all the food, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but then also being able to protect people. So there was that side.
Yeah.
I need people to trust me because I was, you know, taking them into the bush. So not
Hmm.
only, trusting my knowledge on the animals that I was going to tell them about, but that I could keep them safe and keep them alive.
Yeah.
I had so many people that are like, what is an American girl going to teach me about my wildlife?
Yeah.
Or like, how is an American girl supposed to keep me safe? I think you expect me to trust you that you're going to save my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And it's just like, it's not much you can really say,
Yeah.
in that moment. could just kind of be like, hey, you see those people over there? They walked with me yesterday. Why don't you just ask them about it?
Oh, okay. It was like
You
that.
know, kind of all I could. That's kind of all I could do. Or like my
And
coworkers are so difficult with my coworkers, but
this was in Eastern South Africa as well when you were doing those guides.
yeah. So this was in KwaZulu Natal, and
Okay,
and,
KwaZulu
and
Natal.
other than just being a very male dominated, like industry male dominated world,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very physical. It's just something that typically men have done.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, taking that into account that I'm American, so people just kind of, they just assume that we're stupid. They assume we're coming in like, I know everything about everything, and I'm here,
Yeah.
or I'm here for my experience, and this is like not something I'm serious about. This is just look how cool my life is, or whatever. They just don't really take you serious in that regard.
Yeah.
Um,
Your story with guiding and stuff and your experience is very similar to Paul Rosalie's. That's why I keep recommending the podcast because he also did guides and he had to prove himself as like a white American that he can, handle himself. And what's great about Paul Rosalie is he made great friends with the indigenous people there. Like his best friend is Juan Julio Duran, who's he's indigenous 100%. So when he was teaching tourists, it wasn't just him. It was his like basically best friend and brother was indigenous. So he really immersed himself. He's so lucky to have found Juan Julio Duran because they became like best friends and brothers, and
right.
that really led him to become the great conservationist that he is today. You know, because he's doing a lot right now. He's building ecotourism hubs that are like luxurious camping and stuff, and he also teaches. He does guides still, um, and he teaches students that want to learn like the way of the jungle and bushcraft. He teaches those courses, so he's really like in terms of
That's very cool.
yeah, in terms of American conservationists, he's like at the forefront for Amazon. Like
Oh
he
wow.
is in the lead for that. Not that it's a competition, but
Too.
he's doing the most for sure. Oh wait, what'd you say?
I'm writing his name down
Oh
too.
yeah, sure, yeah. Highly recommend his Lex Friedman podcast. Is It's on YouTube. And then
See, that was kind of cool because wait, Lex Friedman.
yeah, Lex Friedman, FRID man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was kind of interesting too, because like I was living in um right outside the reserve, just in a little traditional Zulu village.
Mm-hmm.
So we were the only white people there, me and my ex at the time.
Okay.
And people really didn't trust us. There were a lot of people, like my landlady was wonderful. She, treated me like anybody, she treated anybody. But at first it was really from New York, where I've grown up with like my grade school was a pretty great sample, I'd say, of every demographic that you could find in America. Like it was so all the different colors, all different religions, all different ethnicities. Like it was
Yeah.
really, I realized how lucky I was when I like, moved on, that so many people didn't have that. So I
Mm-hmm.
came from a place where I grew up like truly being taught that everyone is equal, that it like really doesn't matter. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So when I went over to South Africa, where racism is extreme, like
Yeah.
I thought America racism was extreme, but in South Africa, it's like the black people and the white people, other than the major like progressive city areas, and for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
like aliens to each other.
Wow. Cause
They live completely different. They don't talk to each other.
wow. Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, and it's a lot of it because of the apartheid, right? I don't know much about the history of that. I just know about the apartheid.
Completely,
Mm-hmm.
100%. And so that was horrible, horrible to witness, and to just horrible. And
Mm-hmm.
and people didn't know what to make of me, because I came from a place where they're just people,
Mm-hmm.
people are just people.
Yeah.
And people would be like, like black people would be like, why are you treating me like any like any white person. Like, why are you treating me like that?
Wow,
And white people would kind of be like, why are you treating black people so kindly? Like it was a
man.
crazy, crazy dynamic that was baffling. And I was shocked, and people would tell me that, and they would be like, oh, you know what? That's why you're so cool out here and you're so likable. And I'm like,
That's just normal
it
in America.
that's the way it's
Yeah,
supposed to be. And people
yeah.
think like, oh, that's so awesome. That's so amazing. Like, it's like, no, that's the way it's supposed to be. But, it's a long history of very much not that
Mm-hmm.
makes the country really, really, like there's a lot of turmoil.
That's crazy
So
that
that
you
was just a
experienced it.
whole hard thing to navigate in general. What'd
Yeah,
you say?
that's crazy that you got to experience it, like actually experience it, the racism. Um, because my cousins, they came from Bangladesh to America recently. Like they're finally gonna be living here, and yeah, they're not. They're. It's not as bad as South Africa, but like they like to hang around only their religion people and their colored people, and I'm like, this is like the mixing pot you're in right now, America.
Yeah,
You
the
can't
idea.
you can't look for friends just because they're the same religion as you. Like you gotta just
Right,
look for friends. Like this is you're in the mixing pot now. I'm trying to tell them.
right,
And
right.
I'm dating this girl right now, and she's white with blue eyes and brown hair, and they're baffled that I'm doing that. Like, it's you're in a mixing pot right now, and you got to learn to accept people as people. And I
Right.
think America's really good at that actually. Now that I saw how my cousins view the world, and now hearing it from you, how it's like in South
Yeah.
Africa. That's horrible though that it's still like that.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that it's headed in a better direction. What I will say that was pretty cool, the children, like my first friend in the area was a 14-year-old girl who she's like next door neighbor, and she just came up to my door and so sweet and empathetic, and she was like, hello, my name is Andizwa, this is my little sister, so formal,
Yeah.
this is my little sister Nokwetemba, we are your neighbors, we would like to welcome you, and we something like we anything that you need, we're here. And
Mm-hmm.
she would come by my house all the time and just be like, hey, I'm coming to check on you, I'll be back. And especially when she would know like my ex-boyfriend was off because he would transfer to other lodges often.
Yeah.
She knew if he was, she'd be like, okay, I'll come by later to check on you again. Like, she
Wow.
was so caring and empathetic with me.
That's
And
awesome.
right. And she wanted to be a veterinarian. She was like an excellent student and just like a really, really incredible kid.
Yeah.
And, to come out of that environment with that mindset was so beautiful. I was like, and
Oh
then
yeah.
more adults started to get closer with me once they saw the kids loved me, and my
Yeah.
dog. Kids loved my dog.
I think it's good if the kids love you because sometimes adults are fake and their fakeness is
Right.
realized by kids. Like whether you're fake or not, the kids will know, bro. So if the kids like you, it's a good sign.
They're so pure,
Yeah.
and if they appreciate you and like your company and they trust you, that's the thing. If they trust you, then that speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm. Because every now and then, you get the guy who's like, the adults love him. He's got a good job. He's making money, but the kids don't like him. That's something wrong with that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like animals, the same thing like animals. And that's why I love kids and I love babies because they are like non-human animals and they're
Exactly.
pure.
That's why I love hanging out with babies. Like it's like a therapy session. Like when they used to
Yeah.
bring puppies into the college campus during finals week.
Oh, yes, mine
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
Mine
nice.
too.
Yeah, that's why I like to hang out with my neighbors. They're Korean, and they got this kid. He's still a toddler. He's like 2 feet tall. He's so cute, and his sister's like 3 feet tall. So they come into our backyard. They cross the street, and they're right across the street from us. And then I show them my turkeys and stuff, and it's like
Yep.
therapy. Like you said, they're like
I
animals.
love
They're
that.
like
Yeah.
puppies.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
pure. It's
Yep.
needed for adults to hang out with them. But it's getting pretty late, 11 p.m. almost.
Yes.
This was a great conversation. I wish could have started earlier. We could have gone further, but this is one of my longest ones. It's like when do we start? 8 30.
So true. That's so funny. Next time we'll have to do in the morning so that I'm a little bit more eloquent and
Oh
quick.
no, you were great. You were a great, clear speaker. Um, and we talked about a lot of topics. I feel this was a great one. 2.5 hours. Wow. This is the second longest one I did. The longest one I did was 3.5 hours, but uh, the audio was messed up for it. So I don't even know when I'll post that because I have to go and fix the audio.
No, who was
But
that with?
it was Wendy, the farmer that I told you, just constant flow of info. It's just she's amazing with her knowledge base. Um,
Oh, so nice. See, this is such a great way for you to also reinforce a lot of the connections and like bonds that you've made with such incredible people,
oh
like
yeah,
all over the country. This is like
yeah.
awesome.
Even if these get 0 views, I'm getting so much right now. Like just
Yeah.
like the stories we shared and like actually remembering everything from everybody's backgrounds is valuable. Cause or else it's like, why am I even doing all this? Now I'm gonna remember deeper into everybody's master plans and IEPs, which is an added bonus, and then network and stuff. It's just like it doesn't even matter at this point if these get views or not, but they'll always
Mhm.
be here. Like
Yeah.
once I do get virality, these will all like boost up in views. That's usually what happens with channels.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. That is if I get virality. Like you need really high virality for like your previous content to start going up.
Oh,
Um,
right. Because then people start scrolling and getting more.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I hope so. I hope so because people need to know about a lot of stuff we talked about. But yeah, this is a
And
great one.
very much the Project Dragonfly way of, cherishing these connections and learning so much from each other.
Oh yeah, exactly. All
Hmm.
right, Jacqueline. I don't want to hold back your sleep any further. You look like you're ready to go.
Oh, I know. Like,
Yeah. Are you an early riser still? Like, I know you were an early riser during the expedition.
well, I mean, when I'm in wild, when I'm, in the
Oh, you're trying
bush
to
in any way,
maximize your
like a
time.
wild space, I can't miss sunrise. I
Yeah.
can't. But now, I mean, I have work. I go in at 8,
Okay.
so most days, so I'm usually sleep deprived.
Gotcha. You catch up
Yeah.
on the weekends though? Like,
Yeah, and I
okay.
have a couple days like tomorrow I go in at 1, which
Okay.
is nice. That's when I'll catch up.
Oh, nice. What is the name of the veterinary place that you work at?
It's, yeah, it's Long Island Bird and Exotic Veterinary Clinic.
Okay.
It's a mouthful.
This one?
Yep, that's them.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'll keep a note of that. That's awesome. All right, I think that's it.
Thank
Usually
you
I have like a
so much.
parting statement for the viewers, so I'll just say like I'll say that real quick. All right, guys,
Cool.
thanks for watching. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more conservationists on the channel on the series of podcasts that I started. Till next time, and remember, keep it wild. I don't even know why I said that, but it's different every time. Nobody checks the end. Nobody checks the end of podcasts, so I don't even know why I'm doing this line. Usually, you
You
just
say,
end
and
it.
remember,
Yeah.
and remember, after that is always something different. It's whatever you're feeling.
No.
Or you say, and remember, keep it wild.
It's always and remember keep it wild. But like I didn't say that in the previous podcast. I didn't say remember keep it wild in the previous one. The previous one I said some other stuff. So honestly, I should just say peace out to the guest and just end it there because nobody the end portion of a video like 3% of all the viewers actually stick around that long. So that's why
Ah,
it's good to focus on the initial head of the video. Like really put your time and effort into the initial head is what I've learned. Just based on the statistics, most of the eyeballs are going to be
yes.
watching that part of your video, not the end.
Right. We
But
have no attention span anymore.
yeah. Yeah, but I like wrapping things up nicely, just like nice
Yeah,
cherry
that's
on top.
cute.
But all right, yeah. I think that was it.
Cool. Let's do this again. I love this. Even if it's not even for your podcast, just like chat.
Oh yeah, and honestly, I like to save the conversations. Like even if I never upload them, it's just like a saved conversation that I'll always have. Yeah,
I like it.
podcasts are like a great way to use technology. I think it's just like you're capturing conversations. And
Yeah, which is so valuable. It
yeah.
is. You're right.
Oh yeah. hopefully no further out than 2 weeks. I'll send it to you, like when it's uploaded. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for doing this. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you for wanting to do this. Yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Anytime.
Awesome. All right, I'll let you go to bed, essentially.
Thanks. Good night.
All
See
right.
ya.
Good night.
Good luck this weekend. Have fun.
Oh yeah, we'll do. I'll send some pictures if I get good ones.
Please do.
All right. See you later. Bye, Jacqueline.
Bye.